The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Tampa City Council meeting. At this time, we will have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everyone could please stand. Thank you very much. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, if we could have roll call, please.
Carlson. Here. Hertug. Clendenin.
Here.
Henderson.
Present.
Vieira. Miranda.
Here.
Maniscalco.
Here.
You have a physical quorum.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion to adopt the minutes from May 2nd and May 9th? All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, let's go through the agenda. I have quite a few items. I have a memo received from Councilmember Hertug. She will not be present today as she is attending the Conference for New Urbanism in Cincinnati. We have that memo. We have a memo from Councilmember Vieira's office. He will be arriving just a few minutes late, so we will note that. At this time, I'd like to welcome our new budget analyst for the City Council, Hager Kopeski. She's off to the side. Welcome. She will be present at our meetings. All right. We have a memo received from Mr. Elise Drumgo requesting item number 5 to be continued to June 20th.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Henderson, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we have a memo received from Councilmember Vieira's office requesting items 75 through 79 be heard together first after public comment, as they are all related to public safety, and we'll take it from there. TPD has a conflict in the afternoon, so.
So, well, hold on a second. Now, since Councilman Vera is not going to be here in the morning, this was issued, we wait till he gets here for these items?
He's en route, so by the time we get
His
there.
plane landed? Okay,
Yeah,
I thought
yeah,
you said 10 o'clock, okay.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
It got here early. So
Okay.
we have a motion from Councilmember Henderson, second from Councilmember Clendenin? Is that
Second,
right?
yeah.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we have a memo received from Ms. Fager requesting item 29 under Public Works to be removed from the agenda. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Motion from Councilmember Miranda. We have a second from Councilmember Clendenin. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We have a couple things here. Items 71 and 72 will not be heard. They were misnoticed. Can I get a motion
So
to
moved.
remove them from the agenda?
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right. We have a memo received from Councilmember Miranda's office requesting that item number 80 be heard at a time certain of 11:30 due to Mr. O'Hara being unavailable this afternoon. So once we do the public safety, regardless, we're going to go into that 11:30 because of scheduling conflicts. Is there any?
So moved.
All right, we have a
Second.
motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are going to do a hard stop at 12:30 for lunch. All right. All right, let's go to staff reports. Anybody opposed to that? Can I get a motion to that effect for 12:30? We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, let's go to staff reports. We have an administrative update. Chief Bennett, you do have an item, and we'll get to that. Item number 74. Would anybody like staff present for that? I'm going to say yes
Yes.
because okay, Councilmember.
We had a
Carlson?
question from the public about where the 8 million went, and so I think we should answer that question at least.
Okay, so we'll have staff present for 74. 75 through 79, we've already discussed regarding the public safety items. Item number 80, we've already discussed for that 11:30 time certain.
Yes on 81.
Yes on 81. All right. How about on 82? Councilmember Carlson.
Yeah, 82 and 83, I spent a long time talking to staff, Ms. Feely and Susan Johns-Velez, And these two items are really related to what happened in South Howard on Sunday morning. But if the idea is as we distill it down, what we're really talking about is not the creation of entertainment districts. It is the concentration of alcohol licenses. So what I'd like to do is make a motion to receive and file these two, and then put on a workshop.
No, we'll
Okay.
wait for that motion. So 82 and 83, you want to receive and file?
Receive and
All
file.
right, we'll make the motion for the workshop later. So 82 and 83, no staff present. We have a motion and a second to receive and file. All in favor? Aye. All right.
Just remember, please, when I make that motion, it was related to these things.
Yeah, no, under new business. So, item number 84, do we need staff present for that?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say that we're going after the wrong people. And I'd like to have maybe a workshop on this, because this is just doesn't make sense. I violate the law, you buy the house, and I'm coming after you.
Did you want to set this later, make a motion for a
Well,
workshop?
Mr. Bennett may want to speak on it.
Good morning, Council. John Bennett, Chief of Staff. Good morning to the public. In talking to Councilman Miranda's office, he gave us some legal research to do. I passed that off to the legal department. So if there's a sense to continue this, it may make sense.
That's continued for 30 days.
All right, we'll continue this. Today is May, June 20th, is that a meeting?
That's fine with me.
Do we have a June 20th regular meeting?
Do we have a June, you asking us?
I'll just look for it myself.
Yeah.
Yes, all right. Motion to continue this to June 20th, 2024, under staff reports. We have a motion from Councilmember Miranda, second from Councilmember Henderson. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Item number 85. We have a memo from our city attorney. This motion was originally made by Councilmember Carlson. Do you want staff present, or you?
Yes, please.
Yes, all right. Yes on 85, yes on 86. Item number 87, yes, we have to do our thing. Let's see. Item number 88, we have a memo. Mr. Shelby, you going to be on standby for it?
I'm standby, you don't need.
All right, we'll do a yes on 88. All right.
Can I
Yes.
just say,
Go
Mr. Chair?
ahead, go ahead.
85, we don't have to talk about the substance, but the simple thing, because it will be toward the end of the day, is the only thing is to approve the form. If you all read the back, all we have to do is approve the form, which just codifies what the rules that are already out there.
All right.
So we really don't need staff, we can just make a motion.
If you guys are okay approving the form, I don't need
I'm fine with that, but I mean, we ought to at least have somebody in the city check the residency. That's not hard to do. It takes 2 minutes to do that.
Yeah, let's have staff on standby, and we'll take it up then. It could be quick. All right, item number 89, there's a request to continue this item to June 20th. Motion from Councilmember Vieira, second from Councilmember Henderson. All in favor? Aye. This is the Veterans Committee. And then finally, Parks and Rec, there's a request to continue this to June 6, 2024. We have a motion from Councilmember Henderson. Do we have a second? Second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. We went through the staff reports. The timer will be on throughout the day. And I believe that is it. Let me double check before I ask. All right, can I get a motion to approve the agenda and the addendum? Motion from Councilmember Clendenin, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Councilmember Miranda, you have item number 1.
Honorable Chair of Tampa City Council, honorable members of Tampa City Council, it's my honor to introduce a commendation to the City of Tampa Water Department as we recognize the importance of safe, clean, and sustainable water that acknowledges Florida leadership in water use. In celebration of these efforts, we proclaim May 19th to the 25th of 2024 as Florida Water Reuse Week. This week highlights the City of Tampa Water Department's commitment to water conservation, the effectiveness of use, and reclaimed water use. Join me in commencing the Tampa Water Department and their dedication to protecting our precious water resources as we celebrate these achievements. And there's no one better that can say that than the head of the Water Department, Ms. Arroyo Jones.
Thank you, thank you.
Well, it's an honor to accept this commendation on the behalf of the Water Department and in recognition of the Florida Water Reuse Week. This comes at a critical time in which we are battling with a weather drought. And we have a rapidly declining Hillsborough River Reservoir. Our water demand is climbing above 90 million gallons a day, and it quickly reminds us about our need to critically plan our sustainable water resources. Water, I believe, is the future gold. You know, we aren't making any more water. We just change its form. And all forms are extremely valuable, whether it be drinking water or stormwater or wastewater. We really need to look at it from a holistic standpoint and create a system, sustainable system that incorporates all those resources. You know, we do have a team here that's dedicated to that. You know, Sarah Burns and her team have that mindset, have that focus. And as we move forward exploring options, we understand that honesty and transparency are paramount. Would you like to talk?
All right. So water is a finite resource. This is something that becomes very clear during periods of drought like the one that we're in now. And we're, of course, very thankful for the rain we got yesterday and hope to see more of that in the near future. Our community has shown remarkable adaptability and cooperation by adhering to our 1 day per week watering restrictions. Something that's a vital step in our conservation efforts, and something that we need to continue year-round moving forward. Of course, we all recognize that there is more that we can do, though. Our water resources are precious, and we must continue to innovate solutions to secure our water future. In addition to conservation efforts, one of our most promising avenues is the beneficial use of our highly treated reclaimed water. Reclaimed water is special because it's a consistent source. So while the river is subject to environmental conditions and therefore has high variability in flow, reclaimed water isn't subject to that same variability. So while we recognize that past projects did not receive support, it is imperative that we continue to study and to pilot and to explore new methods and new technologies so we can transform our reclaimed water into a reliable resource for the community. As an example of that, our STAR system, which is our irrigation system with reclaimed water, is available to over 13,000 residents. And while this is very helpful to our potable system and removes some of the burden, only about 40% of people who can connect to the system are connected to the system. So in the coming months, we're going to be working to understand what the barriers to that use are and how we can remove them. Achieving as close to 100% utilization of our STAR system is step one towards taking advantage of our valuable reclaimed water here in the city. I want to thank City Council for this commendation and for recognizing the importance of water reuse. Let us continue to work together and innovate and invest in our water future. Our commitment today will ensure that Tampa remains a thriving and resilient community for generations to come. Thank you.
If I may, before I make the presentation, Mr. Chairman, I found a picture yesterday when I was looking at something, and I've been here so long I don't know how to use this, but I think it's fine. The individual to your left is the first time when I was a young man, I should say, learning about the environment. I don't know how many of you remember the Indian with a little tear going down his face? Yeah. That's him. That's the fellow that I met in 1974. And from 74
Yeah, there we go.
to the year today of 24, there's a lot of years and a lot of time and a lot of water going over the dam. But in saying that, let me say this. In 1974, our water use permit was 82 million gallons. The city was maybe 250, 260,000 strong. Now it's over 400,000 people, and a water permit is still 82 million gallons a day. So we're violating it on a daily basis. As long as it doesn't go over 82 on a yearly basis, we're all right. But it's incumbent upon all of us to start thinking more and more about the environmental use, the need of not only wastewater, water, but all around what we're doing to ourselves. We're getting sicker and sicker. There's more cancer every day, and I'm not blaming it on water. I'm blaming it on what we're doing to the environment, period. Thank you very much. And I'd like to present, and the council may ask questions if they like to both of these young people here that are with me. Anybody next to me is always younger.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. Turn on the mic, yeah.
Just quickly, I wanted to congratulate you all again and thank you for all the good work and hard work and communication that's going on. Since you brought up the reclaimed water, because that has been such a hot issue the last 5 years, I wanted to throw out, I appreciate you looking at the other alternatives. You know, one of the problems we had the last 2 or 3 times is that there were alternatives pushed or looked at, but not seriously, and as you said, like thorough and honestly, and this expansion of the STAR program, or what I call purple pipes, was the model that was picked, caused it to look like it was much more expensive than it was. That's a long story for another day. But I think the public I think everybody realizes that water is a valuable resource. We heard in the past that Polk or Pasco or maybe other counties might want to buy it as is and put their own pipeline in. That would be great, because we have a steady supply from Tampa Bay Water, which we can buy at a relatively low cost. So if we could sell that water to somebody else, then we're not drinking it. And we don't have to, more importantly, we don't have to encumber our ratepayers or citizens with the debt. The other thing, I think we talked about this privately, but the STAR program, when it was rolled out, there wasn't sufficient marketing for it. People didn't know about it. They didn't know how to hook up to it. So as we're looking at it again, we need to, as we create the model, we can't use STAR as the example. We need to think about what if we did thorough marketing, which probably would include knocking on doors, and in the expansion of it or higher usage of it, that would work. Another problem is people had to pay their own way to hook it up. I had a friend who's a plumber, so I called him. I think it was like $1,000 or something, but people didn't know how to do it. They didn't want to pay for it themselves. So if we want full support, we might put in there a way that we would cover the hookup of it, or at least explain it better. And then the other thing that the other models did not include is, what if we pass an ordinance that said if you have access to it, you have to use that to water your lawn. You can't use potable water. That might be an extreme measure, but it definitely would ramp up their revenues. But if the public has a choice between all of that versus drinking it, they would much rather do that. Lastly, could you just repeat for people? We still have 1 day a week watering, and I forgot that we're saving like 4 or 5 MGD.
Yes, it's approximately 5 to 6 MGD we're saving, 1 day a week.
So that's million gallons per day.
Million gallons.
That's how much we're saving.
Yes.
And so if we're talking about the difference from the river, we only get like 82 million gallons a day. And so if you're saying sometimes we're using 90 now?
Yeah, we're peaking up to 90, and we're taking additional water from the Harney Canal. We have an ASR system that we're pulling back from, and when we're done with our chlorine maintenance.
And that's with the reduction of the?
That's with the reduction.
So it just shows for everybody who's angry that their grass is drying up, it is essential. It's the fastest, cheapest way that we can cover the shortfall due to droughts, is to just ask people to water once a week. So thank you to everybody for cooperating on that.
Yes, I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
support.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Let me just say one thing, because sometimes we say things like ASR, the public, you may know what it is, somebody in the audience may know what it is. 3 letters mean a lot. It's aquifer storage and recovery. What it means that these individuals in the water department during the rainy season, under the Greco administration, we open up 8 ASR wells. And what we do, we purify the water, clean it out like we're going to send it out, but instead of doing that, we pump it back into the aquifer. So we can put it up during the months of February, March, April, and May. And sometimes you have enough, sometimes you don't. And most of the time you don't have enough to supply you, because we know those are the dry months of the year. So that was done under previous administration way back, and but we got to thank Mayor Greco for that. It was 8 aquifer storage and recovery wells, and thank God we have that. We need to do more of that. We can help ourselves for another 10 or 15 years if they give us a permit to go more and create more water and put it down. However, you have what it called politics involved. So there's where I come in, there's where you come in. Sooner or later, and I hope it's later than sooner, we're going to have a problem in the city. You cannot have a city growing the way this is growing and have your water capped at 82 million gallons a day. It doesn't make sense. If you look at the water supply and how much we do on a daily basis for average for a household, I guarantee you it's one of the lowest. The public has always listened. Again, under the Greco administration, we were within 2 days of not having enough water for the city. and the water consumption went down about 45% as soon as we let the public know. So the citizens of Tampa are understanding what water is and what it does, and all we have to do is be vigilant ourselves and make sure we do the right thing. And this is not the time to talk. We're not talking here about reclaimed water being drinking water, but I understand that. And so let's see what happens in the future. Thank you very much for
Thank you very
letting us
much, sir.
speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you. Yeah, you too. Yeah. All right. Item number 2, we have the Florida League of Cities here to present. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the council, staff, and citizens. My name is Erin Russell, and I am the Membership Program Specialist from the Florida League of Cities, which is located in Tallahassee, Florida. And just for the benefit of the audience members who may have never heard of the Florida League of Cities, for more than 100 years, the League has served as the united voice for Florida's 411 cities, towns, and villages. And since the beginning, our mission has remained the same, which is to protect local decision-making, which allows local voices to make local choices. And so I want to take a moment to say thank you to the City of Tampa for being a dedicated member of the League, and a special thank you to Councilmember Vieira for serving on the League's Board of Directors. It's my honor to be here today, and that is to present the John Land Years of Service Award to Councilmember Charlie Miranda for his 30 years of service to the City of Tampa. This award was named after Apopka Mayor John Land, who served his city for more than 60 years. And so this award recognizes elected officials like Councilmember Miranda for their dedicated years of service to their community. And if I may take a moment before I read the resolution, I just want to say thank you for your unwavering commitment to your city. When you speak to him, you can hear his passion for this city. We just saw it right here with this earlier presentation. And one of the lines from the resolution is that local government is the government closest to the people. And so that means through your service to your city, you have positively impacted countless of lives here. So without further ado, I will read this resolution. It says, whereas America's municipal governments have long relied upon the unselfish leadership of their citizens for local self-government, and Florida's municipal governments share the time-honored role as the level of government closest to the people. And whereas this reliance places extraordinary responsibilities upon citizen legislators, our municipal elected officials, who make significant sacrifices of their time and energy on behalf of their citizenry, making this commitment a true labor of love. And whereas municipal leaders strive for excellence in the governance of their city, town, or village, and commit themselves to providing quality services, governing effectively, and working to improve the quality of life. And whereas the League named its years of service recognition in honor of John Land, the mayor of Apopka, between the years 1949 and 2014, a leader whose dedication is unsurpassed at the national and state levels and who modeled the way for decades of municipal leaders. And whereas several terms in office are a high compliment voters give to an official, and with these years of experience comes a strengthening of wisdom, discernment, and strong leadership skills that bring tremendous values to the municipal governments of Florida. And whereas Charlie Miranda has held office in the city of Tampa for 30 years and is recognized for this achievement. So on behalf of the Florida League of Cities, I want to say thank you for your municipal service and congratulations on 30 years.
Thank you so much, Erin. I really appreciate it very much. Don't leave, because I got a couple of things to say. First of all, it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be honored by the Florida League of Cities. Without the League of Cities, you would have less of a voice in the legislature. They're the ones that try to gather all the information from all the cities in the state of Florida, and they try their damnedest to do what they can to help. However, depends who's in office, who's not in office, is whether you succeed or not. And what you have done, your league, in 100 years, I wasn't there in the beginning, I'll say that, but it's an amazing thing that you controlled some parts of the legislature to make sure that the governments are served and the people are served. If government is served, then the people are served through your legislative efforts in Tallahassee. So thank you and the league for this recognition very much. But Don't leave yet. You know, 30 years of public service seems like a long time. Hold on to your seat, because 30 years from now, you'll forget what you said 30 years before. It flies by. And just to mention that, I'm gonna show you a picture when I first got elected. That was me when I was 2 years old. Well, you can't even tell the difference. Well, I sure as hell can. But
We're all just
I want to thank,
photography had been invented.
well, I'm gonna send you a bill for that. But furthermore, I just want to thank the people who helped me get here. Certainly without the citizens' vote, I'd have never made it. But it all started with one thing, is having the wife that I had. She was the experimental. She was a door knocker. She and 25, 30 friends of hers would go knock on every precinct, on every door. I was just a puppet of that precinct. And she's the one that carried me through all these ventures. And it is what it is, but I want to thank her, Shirley.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Good for you. Thanks for the kind words of belief.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Councilmember Vieira for item number 3.
Charlie, that's what you
Just in time. Mr. Chair, it's a real pleasure to have here a good friend of mine and of many of ours, Mr. Craig Gross, who is the proud father, along with his wonderful wife, Tony Gross, of the late Corporal Frank Gross, who was killed in action on July 16th of 2011 in Afghanistan. Corporal Gross is buried in Arlington National Cemetery at Section 60, and we wanted to invite Mr. Gross here to represent Gold Star families, to tell the community and everybody what Memorial Day is all about. So, Craig, go for it. Bye.
Thank you, Louis. Many of you don't realize Louis flew all the way in from Texas this morning just to be here in time, so thank you very much. My wife and I reside in Oldsmar, Florida, but I can tell you we're very close to the city of Tampa. We're just like a half a mile from the border, and I can tell you from the bottom of our hearts, we are indebted to the city of Tampa Bay for what they've done over the years to recognize not only our son, but all of those who have perished in the wars to protect our freedoms and this great republic that we live in. I want to show you what I think is the face of Memorial Day right here. This is our son, Corporal Frank Robert Gross. And a lot of people get Memorial Day and Veterans Day mixed up, okay? You'll hear people say, Happy Memorial Day. Actually, the best thing that you can say to someone is, please have a nice Memorial Day. Veterans Day is for celebrating the lives of those who have served and survived their service in the military, and also honoring them after they've passed. Memorial Day is strictly to honor those who perished while serving in the military, whether it was while they were engaged with the enemy or in an accident on base or a training accident of some sort. And one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that in the United States of America every year, we have almost 1,000 soldiers who perish in just training accidents, just learning their trade on what they're doing. It might be at AIT school, it might be in boot camp, it might be after they've graduated from boot camp and they're in ongoing training. So Memorial Day is exactly that. And I think it's important that we continue to honor this day as being so very important, because it's been said that a soldier dies twice. The first time when they're killed in action, and then the second time when people quit mentioning their names. As long as I'm alive, I'm going to mention every name that I possibly can of every soldier that I know. There's several Gold Star families here in the Tampa Bay area, which Lewis is very close to all of us, and we thank you very much for that. And so in saying that, that pretty much wraps up what Memorial Day is really all about. Thank you very much. God bless you, and God bless the city of Tampa and this great republic, the United States of America.
And if I may, I especially wanted to salute Craig and all the Gold Star families who come here every year and who just speak in public forums, which, you know, having a son or daughter, a child, and losing someone is as personal as it gets. And to come to a public forum and put your heart out like that, it always touches me beyond everything. And so I would encourage everyone to go to a Memorial Day event. If not, Craig works for Mission Barbecue. Just go to Mission Barbecue and you'll get a lot there. But we always remember names like East Tampa's Wilbert Davis, or Ybor City's Baldemiro Lopez, or Salvador Martinez Ybor. We remember all the names. So again, Craig, thank you, sir.
Thank you. You know, and thank you for mentioning Mission Barbecue. But if you really want to get a taste of true patriotism, come to our restaurant at about 11:45, because at 12 o'clock every day, 7 days a week, we close the restaurant down for 3 minutes to play the national anthem. It really is a spiritual experience. So thank you very much.
Yes, sir. And if anyone.
Thank you very much, sir, for being here. You know, your son is always going to be remembered as a great American hero. And I follow you on social media. I see what you do, and you keep his name alive. You know, Corporal Frank Gross in Arlington. You know, you visit, you show his picture. You know, his memory stays alive because of what you do, and those who remember him. So I want to thank you for being here today, and we appreciate it very, very much, sir.
Thank you, Guido. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you. All right, next up, we have Ms. Tampa Cassana Fink to give a 5-minute presentation to discuss the importance of organ and tissue donation. Yes, ma'am, come on up. Please state your name.
Hello, my name is Cassana Fink, also Miss Tampa. I'd like to first thank the chairman and the entire council for allowing me to speak today. I'm here to share the importance of organ donation and how deeply it can affect many citizens. Like most Americans, I was once unaware of what organ donation entailed. This changed when my father was found unresponsive, rushed to the hospital, and given a 3% chance of survival. We were told that he would need a life-saving transplant, and his year-long health battle began while he waited for his name to reach the top of the transplant list. During this difficult period, I watched my father become a mere shadow of the person he once was, losing half of his body weight, his humor, his mannerisms. My mother worked 2 jobs and fought tirelessly not only for adequate health care for my father, but also for the patients on his floor. Despite the excellent nurses and doctors, it is undeniable that patients can fall through the cracks without a constant caregiver. My father was one of the lucky ones who received a successful transplant in 2014, but witnessing the uncertainty and hopelessness of this experience inspired me to make a difference for others affected by this cause. I began my decade-long journey of advocating for the transplant community, raising awareness about this prevalent yet under-discussed topic, and through my efforts to pass transplant legislation, I was introduced to an incredible organization called More Transplants, More Life, also known as MTML. I now have the honor of serving as Chief Operating Officer, and MTML was founded by Louis Betts, a Tampa native and a double lung recipient. Louis had a similar experience to my family while awaiting for his transplant. He saw many individuals he had met along the way passing as they waited on the transplant list. His experience highlights the uncertainty many patients face, spending months or years on dialysis for hours a day, or being in and out of the ICU. As I always described my father's experience, they are surviving, they are not living. This inspired him to create More Transplants, More Life and make a lasting difference for those waiting for their second chance at life. Since its inception, MTML has grown into an organization that continues to impact the Tampa and transplant community. We have established programs to renovate break rooms for ICU nurses, develop an educational program for Florida public schools, created a program to build trust between marginalized communities in the healthcare sector, and provided patients with guidance through their transplant process. I share all of this because many people do not think about organ donation until they are at the DMV or by the hospital bedside of a loved one. This conversation is incredibly underdiscussed, yet more people than ever are in need of life-saving transplants. And unfortunately, many people will find this cause close to home at some point in their life. Our goal is to provide education, accessibility, and advocacy. As the founder of MTML, Louis Betts, always say, you can't beat relentless. We relentlessly champion organ donation every day because through personal experience, we know that behind this cause are millions of real people and real families who desperately want their second chance at life. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you brought up Louis Betts. I know he's a recipient, I believe, of a double lung transplant, and I know he's doing well. You know, I see him or talk to him, and I'm glad he's doing well. He's not the only person. I know someone I went to middle school with, double lung transplant recipient. You know, it's like you said, they're surviving each and every day,
Right.
And we're grateful for that. But we appreciate all that you do. I know that you serve as COO, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And it is a Tampa-based nonprofit, so you're here in the community, and I want to thank you for coming out today. You know, I'm an organ donor, it says it on my license. A gentleman that I knew passed away a few months ago, suddenly at, I believe, 49 years old, and you know, had a heart attack, and his organs, you know, his eyes, and went to other people in need, and you know, he's a hero for what he did. So thank you very much for bringing something so important to us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Councilman Miranda.
In fact, thank you so much for being who you are, and not only in your beauty and representing Tampa, but what you do that represents the world. And that's much more important than being beautiful. And when you go back, this council just passed approval of a very close hospital close by for the expansion of what? Exactly what you're talking about. More areas for transplant, more room for operating and making someone helpful that is in need of something really rare, that's somebody else's organ. And it's a wonderful thing to have a hospital like that, one of the top 50 hospitals in the country. And they do fantastic work. And I'm not here to criticize any other hospital. I think all hospitals are great, but there's an exception when you talk about Tampa General. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. All right, thank
all
you.
very much. Have a good night.
You too. Mr. Shelby, we're going to go to public comment. You're going to go over the rules?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, council, members of the public. Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney. Members of the public are allowed a reasonable opportunity at the beginning of today's meeting to address any item on the agenda before City Council takes official action on the item. A 3-minute time limit applies to all speakers providing public comment. Speakers and members of the public are also reminded that they are pleased to refrain from disruptive behavior, including making vulgar or threatening remarks or making or causing disruptive noises or sounds or displaying signs or graphics. Speakers are also reminded to refrain from making personal attacks against any city official, staff member, or members of the public. The chair will rule out of order any person who speaks out without being recognized or attempts to address City Council from outside the speaker area at the podium. Persons failing to comply with council's rules may also be ruled out of order and, at the discretion of the chair, may be removed from the chambers for the remainder of today's meeting. Now, if you're here to speak on an item set for a public hearing, you will have that opportunity when that item is heard later in the agenda. No public comment will be taken during staff reports. The time to speak about those items and items on the consent agenda is now during agenda public comment. And finally, City Council members should refrain from engaging a speaker under public comment, and the public should be aware that City Council does not take questions or have a dialogue during general public comment. This is your opportunity to express your position. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to go to in-person public comment. For those that are here that wish to speak, come on up. Please state your name. You'll have 3 minutes. Good morning.
Morning, Council. I would first like to bring honor to someone in the African community that we consider to be a great patriot. born May 19, 1925, was told at a very young age he would amount to nothing. Went to prison, came back, and became one of the greatest revolutionary speakers that spoke to the issues of the black community internationally, and that's Brother Malcolm X. Resolution 568 that you will be considering today, and the people that you would name to be on this committee, it is the hopes of the community when we look at the total despair, not what is being offered, not what is being written down, but what is actually happening in this city, that now people are beginning to feel the terrible effects in the other communities, because we will not address the real systemic ills that has denied people access to good quality education, good jobs, solid foundation and housing. That in this city we have the other America. We have the other America that don't give rise to our children and our men in our community being able to be good breadwinners. So the establishment of this resolution and the establishment of that community, I can assure you, whether I'm in the audience or at the podium, that we're planning on ensuring that all that has been done wrong get addressed. We can't have an agenda every week that tears up the millions of dollars that this city receives, and we don't see any way in which our community is prospering. We don't see it. Even to establish shiny objects inside of our community that is well deserved, and even if the general contractors are African Americans and most of the workers are not, does our community little to no good. So as we move forward, and we have tried to have these conversations overly and over with you guys to say, how do we have real economic opportunities? Brother Malcolm said it, and Brother King said it as well. Those that continue to ignore the voices of the people feel the effects of the action. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Good morning, sir. Please state your name. And if we could turn on the, yes, there we go. Hello, sir.
How you doing, sir? Make sure it's not upside down.
No, it's good. We can see it. It's good.
Okay, great.
Yeah, it'll come up on the big screen.
Before I speak, I want to acknowledge something real quick. Normally, when veterans, I'm the CEO and president for Veterans Council and Veterans, and he recently inducted to the Florida Veteran Hall of Fame. Normally, when I speak, I always talk to
What's your name, sir?
Ellsworth Williams. I'll go by Tony. And normally when I speak, I normally talk with Luis because he's been designated as the veteran guy. But I had a last ceremony at the Memorial Park, and I made sure that Gwen was there, Mrs. Gwen was there, and I want to make sure I acknowledge you, sir, for being at this event next week. I want to get that out of the way, so I didn't ignore you for this last 9, but now I'm acknowledging you. Okay, so now what I'm here for is that, and thank you, sir, for the chair and the city council. As we get ready to attend memorial services, and Craig already mentioned about the definition, but I extend a little further than that, and that's just not the people who died in combat. There are some people who died by suicide, and there's people, veterans, who also may have died maybe outside of combat, but we still acknowledge them during Memorial Day. So I just want to extend that a little bit, his definition, but he is correct. So next as Craig mentioned, next week is memorial services, and remember our brothers and sisters who died in combat. I want to bring to your attention that many have not thought about. What about the families and friends who lost a veteran to suicide or a first responder to suicide? Where do they go? Do they feel comfortable attending a memorial ceremony knowing that their loved one died maybe of suicide? We think that we want to give them safe space. So Veterans Council Veterans every year has had a special memorial ceremony for those who have lost a veteran and first responder to suicide. I added first responders mainly because of my wife. She's a retired law enforcement, and she started acknowledging me, telling me about the first responders who were dying by suicide as well. So we added them as well. So this is our 10th one, and our guest speaker is Colonel Russ Barnes, 06, and his sister was a Marine, a proud Marine, and she died by suicide. How did that happen? She got her HOA evicted her from her house unceremoniously. They threw her out. All she had was a bathrobe and her slippers. She was so affected, this proud Marine, that she got a hotel and she drank down a bottle of antifreeze to die by suicide. That's what happens sometimes when you're a proud Marine. Sometimes those are effect. Russ is going to talk about that, but it's not just about somebody dying by suicide, but the grace, giving the grace to the families for this event. So we're there for the grace of the family, and then try to prevent a veteran dying by suicide, thinking if I die by suicide, it'll make everybody better. I'll relieve that burden. That is not the case. If anybody has been at our event, you would know that you made the family even worse. So I got 40 seconds, so I also want to mention at this event, everybody's invited. It's on 3810 West Kennedy Boulevard from 11:30 to 12:30. I also want to mention real quickly, the next week, they're going to have, at the Hillsborough Veterans, they're going to have a memorial, and I want you to be there for Alan Cash. Sergeant Chris Alan Cash is a Florida native, and he was awarded the Medal of Honor. I'm encouraging you to be there on the 26th as well. So thank you very much for your time, and I'll definitely get with you again, sir, Mr. Miranda, now that I know.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, next speaker. Yes, sir.
Good morning, Council. Jarvis Elamine. I just want to, first of all, pick up on what Sister Connor was saying. I just want to remind Council about Resolution 568, what you sign on to. I want to read the first point on it. Public-private, encourage public-private partnerships to facilitate investments in the low-income community, reduce inequality in income and wealth by making targeted, thoughtful investments to uplift both low-income communities and communities of color. That's very, very plain. I want you, to, Council, to revisit what's going on that Fair Oaks project in Skanska. Up to date, it's been 3 black contractors. These are some contractors here behind me that haven't got work. I'm talking about qualified black contractors. I'm not talking about no giveaway program. So you fought here, had all these people here, and people say, thank God for Lynn Hertech. She was fighting to get it up to 20%. So we left here thinking it was going to be 14%. And there ain't been no 14%. I don't know what mechanism you got in place, Council, to monitor what's going on. And this same company is going around to another elected body bidding for more contracts. And Skanska don't have no good track record. Everywhere they go, they have this problem where black contractors don't get work. I'm talking, and then on top of not black contractors not getting work, not even black workforce. When you come and see black workers, you don't see no black workers. You don't see no in a community of East Tampa, predominant black community, with a $40 million project. It's a shame for God you can't get black contractors to be on the job, black subcontractors. Y'all need to revisit that. I don't know how you're going to do it, but you need to revisit it because it's not working. And we can't have it. We can't have a project like that going on. We're not standing by. You're going to keep hearing from us. You're going to keep hearing from us until we get something done. We stand with Sister Connie at Resolution 568. Resolution means you resolve to do a certain thing. And you got to have a resolve on this in uplifting our community when it comes to shared prosperity. $40 million. Shared prosperity. We're talking about Memorial Day, we're talking about Veterans Day, we're talking about American, talking about all of this. Well, we want to feel like Americans, share prosperity. Thank you, Council. Revisit that, please. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Sir, please state your name.
Yes. First of all, I want to say greetings to the City Council. My name is Richard Muhammad. I'm the owner of Supreme Protective Services. I'm a retired Hillsborough County deputy. And I wanted to follow up with Brother Jarvis with the concerns that Skanska is presented to the city. For one, I'm certified with the City of Tampa as a minority business. I'm certified with Skanska, and I haven't received any work. You know, no black contractors is being afforded the opportunity to come forward on this project. And I think we need a diversity and accountability, as Sister Connie spoke and Brother Jarvis spoke about. And we do need to revisit this because I have approached Skanska for security work. And I know how they'll push the can down the road and use cameras and keep all the wealth for themselves. So we definitely need to revisit this. Once again, greetings to the council, and I hope you have a follow-up with these concerns. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Yes, ma'am. Good morning. Please state your name.
Hi, my name is Pamela Allen, and I'm here to represent our Black qualified construction workers. We demand that Skansky bring them back to the table, please. Work on this $40 million project. This been built in the heart of East Tampa, a Black community. Jobs should be created for skilled contractor workers. They should have the opportunity to perform labors in the Black community. A $40 million project. Please have them come back to the table. Also, our returning citizens, help them get jobs. Set up a meeting where they could come back to the table to revisit Skansky on this $40 million project that the city promised only to have 14% as of today. Black contractors need work. We also need to get them back in our community where it's being held over in a Black community for work. We don't have any work. We got them going back to the streets. That's how we keep them, revisit back to the streets in our Black community. We need to gain wealth with our community to get the construction Skansky back at the table so that we could get in there and start working. Cameras is no good on the site. A body is no good without a deterrence of a body being there. A camera can't not do what a body do. So we need them to get back to the table and revisit this thing and get it all straightened out. So we are allowed as Black community to get back in with Black contractors to get work. And I'm demanding that they get back to the table. And City Councilor, please help us in this situation.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Good morning.
And 'tis not. I said huru. Huru means freedom in Swahili. We as African people should always be thinking about our freedom. We're 26% of this population. We need 26% of whatsoever goes on in it. We need 26%. We don't need 60 and 70% Orient Road jail. We need 26% of it. We want 26% of it. We want 26% of this city $1 billion budget. We want $260 million out of this city $1 billion budget. That's being fair. Who knows the name City Council as a body? Who knows the name of the two men that was murdered a few nights ago in the Soho district? I'm waiting for an answer. Who knows their names? Who visited with their parents or their loved ones or their next of kin? Man, y'all don't give a F about African people. And y'all shows it every time. Every time. Y'all be all riled up when something happened, but what y'all riled up about is not that Black Lives Matter. Y'all riled up about white dollars matter. That's what y'all riled up about. Y'all have these stupid meetings right over at Reagan Park, having a stupid meeting. This is stupid. Y'all blaming the victims. What's up with the gun manufacturers? What's up with that? White people don't talk about that. They just talk about, they put it out there like, oh, it's black and black crime, it's this, it's that. Nonsense, garbage. But we can't forget about Palestine because it shows something. It shows everybody's humanity. It even shows Hillsborough County humanity. They say they want to send $25 million to Palestine. And it's a MF and 100 people right down there by the Hillsborough County building, homeless. Homeless, but they want to send $25 million to Palestine. To do what? To show they on board with something? Hey man, people have to wake up to this. But another matter, another issue I want to talk about today is child support. Child support is ruining the lives of many African men. Child support is illegal and unconstitutional, and this city needs to get a hold of it. Get in contact with Chief Judge Sabella and tell them to fire, terminate Charles Benson, Sabrina Fry, Arabella Campbell, their hearing officers. Everything they do in child support is illegal and unconstitutional. And if you show it to them as a black man, they disregarding you, disrespecting you, and they running on you, suspending your license, your passport, everything conceivable. Get a hold of Christopher Sabella and tell him terminate those individuals down there. They want to know if you have an iPhone.
Thank you very much, sir.
Totally disrespectful to African people. They want to know if you have an iPhone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. Next speaker.
Good morning. My name's Dave Coleman, and it's weird without the speaker thing here. But anyway, this morning there was a presentation about conserving water, and I attend a lot of meetings, and one was on Hannah Avenue at the Hannah Building, the mayor's forum on water conservation. It was about a month or so ago, and I have been hammering her with the toilet to tap thing with the Sierra Club and Friends of the Hillsborough River for a long time. And I found out that morning that she's changed her whole concept, that water conservation is the big thing. Cooperation with Tampa Bay Water and conservation will get us through into the future. And that was a wonderful change, and to hear the presentation this morning, and I think what was said is that the community needs to know more about this, and they absolutely do. So I applaud you on that effort. I also am going to do something that I don't usually do, because for 2 years I have been asking TPD at Stop Gun Violence forums and also at TPD Tuesdays for a cahoots or a call type program. And I found out on TPD Tuesday that they've begun a program. They made an announcement about it, and there'll be a rollout in a month or so. And the public needs to be aware of that, and I would like the council to support it in every way that they can. It's a non-emergency number without police responding to mental health emergencies, and it can save the TPD money, and it can also create trust in the community. I'm all about trying to find good in what we have. I also have a condemnation. When I left here after talking about the violence at USF campus last week, I ended up speaking with an officer outside, and he ended up normalizing gassing and beating students by saying we gave them a warning. And that is normalizing it, and we can't have that in Tampa. At TPD Tuesday, I brought up the fact that in 2020, a whole group of people left Cyrus Green Park on a peaceful march, and children got gassed. And Tampa quickly turned away from that policy and stopped gassing protesters in the street. And I brought up that point, and the response, and the chief is here, and he can refute me if he wants to, was that he said some good things. He said he's all about freedom of speech, but he also said he'll do anything. The utmost thing is the security of the students. I want to know what security of the students he was protecting by gassing and beating those students on that Tuesday. Thanks for letting me share.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning, Humira Afzal. I let Tampa PD off the hook 2 weeks ago because I didn't realize that they were also full participants in the assault on student protesters at USF. A few hours later, I found out that they were fully involved, so I'm back. At a recent town hall type event, a TPD rep was asked, "Are you normalizing gassing and shooting rubber bullets at protesters?" The response, "It's important to first protect anybody's First Amendment right, but then we also have to protect the safety of everyone involved, including those protesting and including others who are around and police. Safety will be paramount in the decision-making process, and whatever we can do to minimize it with the least amount of force will be our goal." That's not what's happening when young people are protesting war in Tampa. The USF protests were peaceful. There was scarcely anyone around except for the protesters and an absolutely ridiculous number of law enforcement officers. The use of force was excessive. Couple of shots here showed up in full riot gear to a bunch of peaceful protesters. Setting up a tent would get you arrested, but students were told that sitting on a blanket was okay. So a student who didn't have a blanket sat on an unopened tent and got arrested. Cops were looking for the smallest excuse to escalate and be violent. The perpetrators of the violence were cops, not protesters. A data analysis of all the student demonstrations from October 7th to May 3rd found that 97% were peaceful. 97%, just like the one here in Tampa. Why are we brutalizing students for speaking who are asking that the universities not invest in companies that benefit from war or from investing in countries profiting from genocide? This is ludicrous. Reminder, this is happening here in Tampa and against your constituents. Even if you don't agree with the content of the protest, you should be troubled by the quickness and brutality with which their rights to free speech and peaceful assembly were put down. Tear gas, rubber bullets, pepper spray, tackling protesters and throwing them on the concrete, knees on necks. Intimidation. Okay, this one is in Orlando. Quite the photo. This was in Orlando, but similar stuff is going on here. I'm long past asking you to speak out against the genocide in Gaza. Will you at least speak out against the brutalization of young people for speaking out against war crimes? Will you speak up for the First Amendment? I have 3 asks. Investigate why the level of force was unleashed on peaceful protesters. Find out how many officers present have been in training connected to Israel. I also want to know why this guy was in some official capacity was running around with an Israeli Defense Forces t-shirt. This was taken at USF.
Thank you very much.
And any relationship whatsoever with Israel and their training.
Thank you very much.
Sorry. This happened right here, MLK Plaza. Quite the irony here. This all happened in front of this statue.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. Next speaker, please. Good morning. Please state your name.
My name is Mari Colon. It's nice to speak with you all today. I was actually one of the students there on Tuesday, April 30th, I believe was the day. We were peacefully protesting and we were met with nothing short of excessive force. I'm pretty small, I can't really do much damage. You know, people that know me would say that I wouldn't hurt a fly, and that's true. There's nothing wrong with protesting against genocide. I think using that word is honestly the only acceptable word. It's been internationally recognized as such by now, and that is honestly indisputable. Students protesting a genocide or protesting even local policy should not be met with the kind of force that we were met with on that day. Me linking friends with my arms, not being violent, but chanting, which is within our lawful right. We did absolutely nothing that was illegal. We held wooden shields, which are illegal under Florida law, and what we saw was terrifying. I mean, we literally saw at least 100 different armed forces marching our way, many of them in riot gear. I've never seen that level of violence that I saw that day and the day before at the previous protest. I'm scared. This has instilled a fear in me and many of my fellow peers, a fear of police, a fear of the people that should be protecting us on a day-to-day. The USFPD and Tampa Police Department, as well as the patrol in the tan uniforms, I forgot what they are, I'm not really good at public speaking, but they should be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law for meeting us with tear gas, meeting us with rubber bullets. Their job, first and foremost, is to de-escalate situations. They were the aggressors. I saw my friend fully detained, handcuffed behind his back, slammed face first into the pavement. That was disturbing to say the least. We're seeing these images online. Imagine living through it firsthand. Not even 6 feet away from me, I'm seeing students get choked out. Students get slammed. It it was just disturbing to say the least. You know, I think the message is clear enough from Hillsborough County that they care more about silencing student voices than listening to their concerns. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. Next speaker, please. Good morning. Please state your name.
My name's Ellie Mae. I'm here to talk about the genocide going on in Gaza too. I just want to say that there's 35,000 people who have been killed. And you guys are all in a position to make a difference. I'm assuming that's why you chose to be in these positions, is to make a real difference in your communities and in the world. And from what it seems, you've done nothing, and I think you should be ashamed of that. What you're doing now is what you would have done during the Holocaust, during slavery. It's all the same. And if you haven't done anything, you should be deeply ashamed of yourselves. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Good morning, ma'am. Please state your name.
Valerie Bullock, Ponce de Leon College here. The government is divided into different departments to ensure a system of checks and balances. At the East Tampa CRA monthly meeting, the board voted against purchasing the property at 1911 East Osborne Avenue. The purchase was taken off the agenda last week. Now the mayor is raising the issue. The people spoke last week. The democracy system works. When we have one person pushing their will on the people, it is no longer a democracy, it's a dictatorship. East Tampa has over 30 properties, adding to the blight of the community. No buildings, no plans, and whenever the powers that be want to push something on the people, they throw in affordable housing. Nothing is changing for the betterment of the forgotten people in East Tampa. East Tampa CRA and Domain Housing started buying property at the same time. Domain built on their lots and sold the properties. East Tampa CRA needs to start building on the 30 lots that they already have, not buying more property just to sit waiting for the full impact of gentrification to take place. It's really sad when I come down here, I go to an East Tampa CRA meeting. Last week, they was talking about building a coffee shop and making a commercial district in East Tampa. That is not what the people in East Tampa need right now. Right now, we need jobs, and we need obtainable housing, rent, and that are something that we can buy. If you build a coffee shop in East Tampa, it's going to be another act of disrespect for the people of East Tampa. You built the coffee shop, we couldn't partake in the building, we can't work there, and we can't even buy the coffee because we don't have a job. We need to focus on the economic impact of East Tampa. What is going on? Why are there so many people unemployed? Why can't we get a manufacturing job over there? Because the people will work. It's been proven. When Singleton went out of business, it had a big impact on us. You could see the people in the projects, everybody with white, going to Singleton because they want to work. We need a manufacturing, some kind of economic engine in East Tampa where we can walk and we can work right there. And then we can start purchasing other things. But right now, it's just blatant disrespect in East Tampa. The houses are $450,000. That's the affordable housing. We can't afford that because we don't have a job. Or if we do, we're making $20,000 a year.
Thank you very much.
And that's not acceptable.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Good morning. Next speaker, please state your name.
My name is Lena Vu, and I'm here to urge you to protect our First Amendment right to protest and refrain from the use of the Tampa Bay Police to restrict or silence anti-genocide protests. Investigate the excessive force used by TPD to silence protesters and to ban cross-training between the Tampa Police Department and the violent Israeli occupation forces. I recently graduated from the University of South Florida, where I have participated in numerous protests and rallies for Palestine and even a hunger strike to urge the Board of Trustees to divest from weapons manufacturers that supply the settler colony of Israel. the equipment it uses to commit genocide and war crimes against the Palestinian people. And on April 29th and 30th, USF students and community members came together to start a solidarity encampment for Gaza, following the lead of universities across the U.S. And like those universities, their protest against genocide was met with police aggression and tear gas. The USF and Tampa police departments were far too ready to use riot gear and riot control agents against nonviolent protesters. Tear gas is banned in warfare, yet police are allowed to use it to shut down people exercising their First Amendment right to protest. These protesters had shields at the ready because police violence is so completely predictable when it comes to advocating for human rights of people of color. Time and time again, we see nonviolent protests turn violent because of police aggression and brutality, just like we saw in the protests in the wake of the murder of George Floyd in 2020. Protests are meant to be a nonviolent means of civil disobedience and resistance. Protests do not necessarily have to be peaceful because they are supposed to be disruptive if we want to enact meaningful change. Do not let the oppressors warp the distinction between peace and nonviolence when they are the ones supporting the mass murder of the people of Gaza. Those in positions of power who are continuing to ignore the genocide, such as you all, that we have all been witnessing and protesting for the past 7 months, do not deserve a moment of peace when Palestinians haven't had a moment of peace in over 76 years. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. Next speaker. Good morning.
Hi, my name is Letitia. I'm back again in regards to Madison Highlands and Leland, the management company for Madison Highlands. They're continue to exploit the seniors, raising the rent. Their paychecks, government checks, can't even meet the raise in the rents. They keep disguising it as affordable living. It's not affordable living. And the ones that speak up against them, they try to kick them out and disguise it as legal's way of eviction. This is what my mom is going through. The 9th of this month, she was verbally given a notice, verbal notice, which is not legal, to move out by Monday, which was 4 days. She called me, I came back in town trying to figure out what's going on. I'm her POA. They're supposed to be speaking to me directly because of medical issues. They keep violating that. Then couple behind that, give her another notice, which is written, which was illegal and is unfounded, for 7 days to move out to vacate. She has done nothing wrong. Her rent been paid on time every time. She doesn't bother anybody, and they're not being held accountable. And they're getting ready to build another apartment complex. This is exploitation of seniors, disguising affordable living to help the seniors, and they're not protected. Who's protecting the seniors? Who is standing up for their rights? Who's gonna protect them? Human rights, civil rights, and all that. And all we do is sit and look, and they're making money off of these seniors, and the ones that speak up, they get them out the way. Oh, we evicted them. It was a legal eviction. No, it was not. Somebody has to look into this. Human rights, senior rights, disability rights, all that. What is going on? Are we gonna go week after week and listen to all these concerns and nobody stand up to do nothing? Where's justice? Where's their rights? Madison Highland LLC and Leland Management Enterprise LLC down out of Orlando, Kissimmee. Shame on them.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Good morning. Please state your name.
Good morning, Stephanie Pointer. I'm so excited to see our new budget analyst here. I'm probably the most excited person in the city who doesn't sit up there. But anyway, welcome, absolutely. I'd like to propose that you guys look into a couple different consultants to help us further dig into some of the issues that we have at the city. One, a land use consultant, housing consultant / and a transportation consultant. Might be a good idea. We've got big issues in those two areas, and why can't city council have a consultant for those two areas for a year? Doesn't have to be forever, but somebody to bring on board to help us muddle through the issues that we have at the city and make sure that they're acting in the best interest of the council and the council's wants and desires. I'm excited about the budget update today. I am the Hillsborough County River Board. Ms. Lewis or Mr. Brown good to go. The third candidate, move on. Proof of residency, the housing has went through the roof in the last 5 years in the city of Tampa. And when I bought my house, it was worth 1/3 of what it's worth today. I mean, we've got to be realistic about this. The city of Tampa is not paying top dollar. Sorry. They are making decent money, but they're not paying the top of the pile. There's always outside jobs to be had. And so to run off good for who knows what is just absolutely ridiculous. Because they don't live in the city, that doesn't mean they don't care any less about us. And I want you to know that there were people who ran for your seats who did not live in the city of Tampa, and the Elections Commission didn't give a crap. So why are we wearing this out? And last but not least, I have a minute left, and I would like to honor Captain John Tinsley and Navy SEAL Pat Feeks and their Gold Star wives who both live in my community.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Good morning, Council. Steve Michelini. I'm here on behalf of the Soho Business Alliance, and there were a number of comments that were made in town hall meetings regarding the businesses not doing what they were supposed to do, or the police not responding quickly enough in the recent tragedy on South Howard. And I can assure you that all of the businesses had their required police officers on duty. They were extra duty officers as well as security. And the police department responded quickly. So some of the things that were talked about included increasing security and increasing police presence. It occurred within 5 minutes of these individuals getting out of their cars. It could have happened anywhere, and the police have already said that. So I don't know what you do regarding individuals that come into an area, decide that they want to have a fight, and then they perpetuate whatever violence they want to have upon each other. The businesses are responsible. They do what they're supposed to do. This is not a bar district. It's made up of a number of different establishments that include restaurants and other businesses. They all do what they were supposed to do. They have their own video cameras. We had each of them install additional video cameras on the premises of the bars that are on north of Swan and the restaurants that are south of Swan. These are responsible people. They do what they're supposed to do, and it's a misguided statements that characterize them as being negligent in their responsibilities. We work very closely with the police department every week, including the deployment of officers, how they are used, and how the safety and security of the public is maintained. The residents that came and spoke were mostly south of Swan, which was not anywhere near where this incident occurred. And however, I've already said this on the record, that the incident occurred from people coming outside of the area deciding to meet, and that they had violence on their mind before they arrived. It could have happened anywhere. I'm very sorry that it happened. We're very apologetic for that. However, the safety and security of the public has been maintained and will continue to be maintained. And we'll continue those discussions with the police department and Tampa Fire Rescue regarding the public safety in every respect. If there are any questions regarding that, I'll be happy to answer them. But thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Next speaker. Did you already speak, ma'am, or you have not spoken yet? No? Come on up, please state your name.
Hi, good morning. I'm Cha-E Lee. I am here to ask you to investigate the Tampa Police Department and the University of South Florida for the police violence against student protesters and community supporters at the Solidarity encampment. Real law claims that the police violence was for the safety of the community, but we are protesting against genocide. I have seen over the past 7 months things that I never thought I would see. Children burned black, decapitated bodies. It's just, the students and community members that were out there at the Solidarity encampment are the best among us. They saw something that should never be happening to any of us, and they were moved to action, and they were punished by the very values that USF wants students to have, civic duty, courage, kindness. What happened was traumatic. One of my friends, I'm a community member, by the way, I'm not a student, I graduated a long time ago. But one of my friends is a student, and she was there at the Solidarity encampment,
And she was there both days, and we saw and witnessed what happened. And then this past Saturday, we were in Orlando for the statewide rally. And we went through that police violence. And it brought us back to USF, and it really shook us up. Like, it's disgusting and appalling that we are met with such brutal violence for speaking up against genocide. You cannot claim to be prioritizing community safety when you punish people for speaking out against the mass killing of other people. That just doesn't make any sense. So I need you to please hold Tampa PD accountable. Please hold Dean McDonald and Rhea Law accountable, and just find out how many Tampa taxpayer dollars were used in this whole police violence brutality. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. Please state your name. Good morning.
Good morning, Robin Lockett. First, I want to say, in regards to these young people coming out, I think it's admirable that they're coming out to speak out. They have concerns about an experience, and hopefully you guys are reaching out to them to have that conversation with them, because it takes a lot to come up here to express themselves and tell you their concerns. If their concerns are with TPD, then there's TPD's truth, there's their truth, and there's the truth in the middle. And somebody should be inquiring about that. So that's my thought about that. Item number 84. I totally agree with, in regards to coding, that something, the code enforcement, that when someone purchases a house or does something that the seller is now being, I guess you guys are looking into charging the seller or making the seller accountable. I think that there should be an ordinance that if a homeowner or someone goes out of their way and does not hire a family member to get the job done, or somebody around the corner or a handyman, if they go out and they make the effort to hire someone that's certified, that's that company's business, and that company does not pull permits, that company should be held liable in some kind of way to protect your constituents. What I'm finding out is that people are going to certain companies that are certified, and later to find out that a permit was not pulled. It shouldn't fall back on it should not fall back on a homeowner to make sure, because they're hiring somebody that's certified in it. So there should be some type of accountability, and there should be some type of slight protection for the homeowner that's trying to do the right thing instead of hiring Joe Blow around the corner to do the work. That's one thing. Second thing is that Nicole Travis is leaving. That's a concern. Someone to fill her spot, that's a concern. I think her right-hand person, Elise Drumgo, is the person to fill that spot, not as an interim, but as that director. There's no way that the work that has been done, her team has created an infrastructure around housing that has not been done. It would make no sense for someone to do a national search or anything of that nature and come in and try to learn and put forth what has been done.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Hi, my name is Mary Lou Bailey. I came down to council today mostly to listen to the crime report, to understand what's going on and what options are being reviewed, et cetera. But I understand there's no time for public comment there, so I wanted to briefly address crime. I was at the public meeting last night held about crime, particularly in the wake of the recent tragedy on South Howard, in front of the restaurant and optic shop and other places my family and I routinely go. Despite that I live south of Swan, I'm still very much a consumer in that area. What was expressed last night was like a boiling point. This was a terrible tragedy that happened Sunday morning, and I'm sorry for the families of the people that were killed, and it's very complicated. And what we heard last night was a lot of issues, and I just want to ask the entire council to please pay attention and not write this off as a terrible one-off tragedy, not write it off as the neighbors versus the businesses. It's a whole bunch of things. Concerns were expressed about the proliferation of guns. Concerns about many of the establishments got their permits from this council because they were supposed to be restaurants that were going to get 51% of their revenue from food, when that's no longer the case. There's excessive loitering. There's all kinds of public nudity, sex, gross things that were reported last night that I wish I could unhear about things that are going on in that district. And so it's a lot of things. Perhaps the most troubling, though, is over a series of decisions made by various members who may or may not be on council now and with different information, we've got too many places in too tight of an area that are open until 3 a.m. with all-you-can-drink specials and all kinds of craziness going on. And we need to work together, the council, TPD, the neighbors, the businesses. We need to work together to calmly go through the information and figure out how to restore some sense of neighborhood to what is a neighborhood. We're happy to have places to go out, eat and drink and all of that good stuff, but it's gotten out of control. And this was kind of the tipping point where tragically 2 people lost their lives in our neighborhood. But it's not just a one-off. It's just totally out of control there. It's not safe to be there. And so please stay with us as we work through this. The city attorney, Ms. Zellman, was there last night, and she expressed that there are going to be some concerns because we can't take away rights that have already been granted, et cetera, but we have to try harder. We can't just like move on and go, okay, well, this was a tragedy, it's gonna be okay. It's not okay. We gotta somehow put that genie back in the bottle. It's out of control down there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Those will close in-person public comment. We have 3 people registered for online public comment. Is Michael Randolph online? Michael Randolph.
Good morning. My name is Michael Randolph, and I'm with the Center for Nonprofit and Community Development. Well, first I want to talk about the increase in violence, gun violence, homicides that has been occurred over the last couple of weeks. The fact of the matter is that over the last 5 years, that's been a 97% increase in homicides among Black youth. Added to that, 125% homicide among Black females. On June the 16th, we will be hosting a meeting titled National Discussion on What Works in Reducing Street Violence. This discussion will include violent groups from around the nation interacting with each other about what works. We cannot arrest our way out of this nightmare. The meeting is going to be broken down into 2 parts. The first part is going to be called, What is the Cause of the Violence? That's a group of Black psychologists, Black educators, and Black sociologists and others that have come up with a school of thought called intergeneration trauma. The second part is going to deal with what works. This initiative that we're going to be talking about, the groups that have shown success, is based on the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. We know it as the CDC. And it focuses on a public health strategy to reducing violence. They use what's known as a societal ecological model. What works? Well, in Baltimore, which is the second highest city for violence, they reduced homicide by 20%. In Kentucky, they reduced gun shooting by 30%. In New York, they reduced gun shooting by 50%. And in Philly, they reduced it by 30%. In addition to that, we're going to be talking about the different studies that are going on. One study is going to be from the Peer Research Center. The next is going to be from the Department of Treasury and the Justice Department. And then finally, Johns Hopkins University out of Baltimore. This initiative, what does not work? Initiatives that only focus on Black dysfunction rather than structural causes and potential solutions do not work. Looking forward to this meeting. It's going to be really a conversation about an evidence-based data-driven approach to reducing violence in our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Randolph. Our next registered speaker is Franklin Perez.
Hi, this is Franklin Perez. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, sir.
Great. My name is Franklin Perez. I live in Seminole and Hillsborough counties. I have two issues to speak about. Police abuse at University of South Florida on April 30, 2024, and Israel-Palestine conflict. First issue, I would like to speak up against the Tampa and University of South Florida Police Department's excessive use of force, which I personally saw when they brutalized and arrested peaceful protesters at the University of Florida on April 30, 2024, for rightfully demanding that the University of South Florida divests itself of all investments pertaining to the genocidal Israeli apartheid regime. I demand that the Tampa City Council look into the events and condemn these violent acts on protesters. Second issue, Israel-Palestine. Rescind all pro-Israel resolutions you have made in the past. Enough. Israel is a Jewish supremacist apartheid state that has been committing ethnic cleansing, human rights abuses, and now genocide against Palestinians for 76 plus years, as per reputable human rights organizations like Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and B'Tselem. Stop supporting Israel. Stop giving it weapons. Stop giving it money. And condemn it for what it is, an apartheid and genocidal state. The Israeli apartheid regime's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, has invoked genocidal language against Palestinians in the Gaza concentration camp by referring to an ancient biblical passage in the Old Testament comparing Palestinians to Amalekites that must all be put to death. Men, women, children, infants. The Israeli apartheid regime's defense minister, Yoav Gallant, has dehumanized Palestinians by referring to Palestinians in the Gaza concentration camp as human animals. Miko Pellet, Israeli Jew, son of a famous Israeli Jew general, ex-Zionist occupation forces enforcer, and Palestinian rights activist, has stated that the Israeli army is the best terrorist group in the world. Ex-Israeli Jew Zionist occupation forces pilot Yonatan Shapira has stated that the Israeli army is a terrorist organization run by war criminals. At this point, due to scattered Zionist-only occupier settlements in the West Bank, the only fair solution to the Israel-Palestine conflict is a one-state solution where everyone, Jew and Palestinian, has equal rights in a free Palestine from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea. The refrain that Israel has the right to self-defense is a red herring. The real question is, does Israel have the right to use force to maintain an illegal occupation and apartheid state that commits ethnic cleansing, genocide, and human rights abuses against Palestinians? The clear answer is no. Israel has no right of self-defense when it is the oppressor and occupier, while Palestinians do have the right to physically resist and defend themselves against their oppressor and occupier, the Israeli apartheid regime. I request that you introduce a resolution to stand with Palestinians in demanding an end to the siege of Gaza, a permanent ceasefire, and an end to all U.S. aid to Israel. Military, economic, political. Already 100 plus U.S. localities have passed ceasefire now resolutions, including the city of Doral in Florida. Ceasefire now, and condemn the
Thank you, sir.
use of force
Thank you.
by Tampa
Thank you,
PD
sir.
and US.
Our last public speaker is Baker Shaw.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Baker, yes, we can. Go ahead.
Good morning, councilmen and women. I'm actually here to add my voice to the young people and old alike who voiced their disapproval of the way that Tampa PD acted on USF during the protest that was taking place on April 29th and 30th. In fact, I went there on the 30th just as I would say the military forces that were there between Tampa PD, the Sheriff's Office, USF Police, the state troopers, and I don't know who else was there because all of them were in riot gear, ready for battle against unarmed students who are protesting with free speech. And when they tear gassed, they endangered the lives of the students. One of the trees actually on that MLK Plaza caught fire. Can you imagine what kind of disaster that would have created if people were actually burned or worse, died? So I urge you to take action, look into, investigate, do what you need to do, and hold people accountable. Free speech is our First Amendment right. And as long as we're nonviolent, which was the case in the protest that USF, the students at USF were holding, then we should not be treated that way, okay? And just remember, one more point that I want to mention, all these people who are voicing their opinions in solidarity with the Palestinian people who are being killed in a genocide, in war crimes, according to the International Criminal Court, okay? And you, council members, if you continue on this course that you are in, these people will remember, okay? It's not just for Joe Biden, Genocide Joe and his cabinet, okay? It's gonna go to you guys. You will be voted out of office if you continue on this course. So please, correct your actions, be on the right side of history, not with the genocidal state of Israel. It's actually not Israel. It's not real, is what it is. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That concludes public comment. Per our agenda review, we're going to move directly into the items related to public safety. Item 75 through item 79 will be heard together, and I believe Chief Bearclaw is going to lead us off.
Good morning, Council. I was going to give Councilman Vieira, if you so please, the chance for the union to speak
Unmuted.
first, if that works for you. Okay, and then in the meantime, we'll get our PowerPoint presentation up ready to go.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Council. Brandon Barclay, President, Tampa PBA. Thank you, Councilman Vieira, for making the motion for us to be here today. I'm going to keep it real short and brief. The PBA has been in constant communication with staff and Chief Bearclaw. We've presented what we believe to be a fair and equal representation for the budget. The chief has come up with what I think is a proper balance, and we fully support anything that he's going to present today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And before you go, Chief, since we had PBA here, I know we had given the opportunity for the president of the local 754 for fire to speak as well, but I understand he's not in town. I just want to acknowledge that. Is there anybody from 754 here today with us?
If I may, Mr. Sheriff, this is only for police, and then fire's coming afterwards. Donnie, who's the vice president.
I understand. I just wanted to make sure if we knew somebody was here.
Yes,
Okay, very
vice
good.
president.
Okay, go ahead, Chief.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't see him.
And I'm waiting for, okay, we have the PowerPoint up ready to go. So good morning, Council. I'm here today with several of my staff to present our master plan and how we can combat violent crime in the city. With me, I have Deputy Chief Johnson, Deputy Chief Ruth Kate, and Major Eric D. Felice. So I'll move the slide. All right, so the mission. Starting out with our mission is very important because we base everything we do on our mission statement. And our mission of the Tampa Police Department is to work in partnership with the community to reduce crime, improve the quality of life, and make Tampa safer together. What does that mean? That means that we're working together with the community, and our goal is not only to reduce crime, but improve the quality of life. And those quality of life concerns are, you know, we've talked about the broken windows theory. It's addressing those small issues before they become big issues. And our core values are up here in the acronym of SAFE. And basically what that is to serve, advocate, fairness, and excellence. And we pride ourselves on our core values. And of course, excellence is premier. The training that we receive compared to some other agencies is above and beyond. Our department pillars on our next page. We base our philosophy on 4 main pillars, which is crime reduction, community engagement, quality assurance, and wellness. In crime reduction, that's just based on our mission statement that I just read to you. Everything that we focus is on reducing crime. That's our primary responsibility. Community engagement. We continue to build upon our community trust and transparency, that we have one of the greatest relationships in the nation with our community, and we always continue to build upon that. And then our quality assurance, it's based on accountability and training and finding ways to hold ourselves accountable, our training, and our trust and transparency. We actually have a quality assurance unit at the police department. When I was a captain of professional standards, I spearheaded that under Chief Castor at the time to develop that unit then. And then finally, wellness. Wellness for our officers, our professional staff, and of course, our community. If we don't take care of ourselves, how can we take care of the community? And as you see, there's a lot of demands on policing, and it's important that we take care of our staff. So our crime reduction strategy. It's pretty self-explanatory. As you can see here is how do we sustain and improve upon one of the lowest crime rates for a major city our size? We continually evaluate this. We evaluate this in daily reports, weekly reports, monthly reports, and of course, annual reports. And we're very fluid in how we adjust and move our deployment. So we focus on enforcement efforts regarding illegally possessed firearms. Last year, we recovered over 2,000 firearms off the street, and that's progressive, proactive work from our law enforcement officers. We actively pursue additional grant fundings. We even said it in some of our town hall meetings, is there was some technology and things that we wanted to get that we couldn't get in the city budget, but we were able to secure additional funds from both the state and federal appropriations in addition to grants to assist us. So we're looking at all avenues to get that funding. We utilize focused deterrent strategies that incorporate collaboration and trust. You guys are very familiar with our CVI grant, the $1.5 million grant that is now in phase 2. And that is a very proactive measure of getting in the community and addressing the youth and trying to prevent crime from occurring in the first place. And then our Crime Gun Intelligence Center. We were one of the first in the nation to have a crime gun intelligence center in our own NIBIN unit. And we pride ourselves on getting intelligence quickly and linking cases of crimes fast so we can prevent future crimes from occurring. Our crime statistics, which we published in our annual report earlier this year, total crime was down nearly 7%. Our violent crime was down just over 8%. And just to give you kind of a relation of where that stands based on the Major City Chiefs report, which is the 70 major cities in the US plus the major cities in Canada, the average reduction in total violent crime based on that report was just over 2.5%. I hope you're going to give me more time because I got a lot more slides.
Just let us know how much more time you're going to need after the presentation.
Okay, thanks. All right, violent crime with a firearm last year was down a little over 17%. Crime statistics, in addition, homicides, we were down 13% last year, and obviously we're off to a rough start this year, but we pride ourselves on reducing violent crime and most importantly, preventing crime from occurring in the first place. And again, I already talked about the firearms, but what's not on this slide is how we can all do our part in keeping guns from getting into the hands of people that shouldn't necessarily have it. I've mentioned it before. We've had roughly 200 firearms that were stolen last year from unlocked cars, and those are getting into the wrong hands. So we are actually doing a major education awareness campaign on that to reduce those crimes from occurring in the first place. So in January of 2022, the Department of Justice authored this report, this Violent Crime Reduction Roadmap. And on this report, it was basically based in 2020, the nation saw, this is the nation on whole, saw a 30% rise in murders. This spike is driven predominantly by gun violence across the entire nation. This is claiming lives, it's changing the course of everybody out there, and as we've seen locally. We cannot let this tear down our community and keep us all from working together. It was said in public comments together is, you can't let one incident go. We have to continue working together and moving forward and finding ways to reduce crime. This report highlighted 10 essential actions that cities can take to reduce crime, and especially gun crime. And I'll go through them briefly with you. I'm thinking probably another, for the whole presentation, 10 minutes, if that's okay. Number one, Commit to saving lives by stopping violence. If you were to ask any police officer what is their primary mission, is to help people be safe and to prevent somebody from losing their life. And I mentioned it in the town hall last night. When police officers respond to a shooting and they're giving life-saving measures, literally right after gunfire happened, and they're trying to save somebody's life, they're going through their head and they're thinking, okay, can I save this person's life? Can I apply a tourniquet? Can I do CPR? And then at the same time, they're thinking, is there any way or anything that I could have done to prevent this? This is something that we strive. It's in our DNA. It's what we sign up to do. And officers, and I did say this at the community meetings, officers in your community will give their own life to save someone else's life. We've had 32 officers at the Tampa Police Department that have just done that. And yesterday was a National Police Memorial Day for the entire nation, and they do it across the nation. And it's not any different here. We identify, number 2, key people in key places. And I talked about this before. We do this daily, we do it weekly, we do it monthly, and we do it yearly. We have an offender-based program and we have place-based programs, and we actively do that. And number 3, plan for engaging people in places. Community policing, it's something that we've revitalized. Obviously, during the pandemic, that took a sidestep. There's nothing more that we're doing now but integrating community policing, focusing on focused deterrence, youth programs, and operational plans. And Deputy Chief Johnson will speak more about that in a little bit. And number 4, engaging people with empathy and accountability. And again, that is what we do. And that's what the officers do. You seize every moment. Community policing isn't necessarily just playing basketball with kids. It's how we interact on a daily call for service. All right, number 5, addressing key locations using place-based policing and investments. We do this with problem-oriented approaches. We do this with thematic maps, grid maps, hotspot policing. We do grants that help us out with this. We have the JAG grant. So there's just a plethora of things that we do with number 5. Number 6, place responsibility for violence reduction at the top. Obviously, that's me. And in addition to that, all of our commanders. We meet twice a week in an executive staff meeting, and there's the first thing that we talk about is our crime and the last thing that we talk about. We have weekly meetings in each district to talk about crime, and we also have a weekly intelligence violent crime meeting. And at every one of those meetings, the captain that's over that area, the sector commander, is responsible for knowing everything and answering to those questions. Number 7, emphasize healing with trauma-informed approaches. And last year, if you recall, we added a victim advocate, and we have a slide later that'll talk about some of her efforts that she's made in her first year. Number 8, invest in anti-violence workforce development, investing in a strong, healthy workforce. You may recall we had Charlene Baker up here, Charnel Baker, in Shielding Our Teens, which is a program that does exactly that. In fact, that program's become so popular that other police departments across the nation are emulating that program. And number 9, set aside funding for new stakeholders and strategies. And that's something I mentioned before with the CVI grant and other grants that we have out there. In addition to us receiving funding, we're also putting funding back in the community, and that's with our CARES grant. So we think it's important for the nonprofits that are assisting us to provide those resources for them. And number 10, commit to continuous improvement based on data, evidence, and peer-to-peer learning. And that peer-to-peer learning is extremely important. We had Phoenix Police Department here just last month doing peer-to-peer, and we've had other Department of Justice peer-to-peer exchange programs. And typically the feedback that we get in those peer-to-peer meetings, the agencies that are jealous of the one thing that they can't take back with them, and it's our relationship that we have with the community. So on this next slide, how are we going to continue methods on reducing property crime in addition to violent crime? It's public outreach. It's public outreach on the auto burglaries. If we can get somebody to think twice, did I lock my door? Did I take my gun out of my car? Then we're accomplishing our mission. Neighborhood watch. We need more people involved in neighborhood watch. I'm holding my commanders accountable of creating new neighborhood watches or revitalizing neighborhood watches. In fact, just in our town halls this week, we've had 2 residents asking to be involved in neighborhood watches. So that message is getting out and more people are getting involved. And ensure that our crimes are thoroughly investigated, and that's something that we follow up no matter how small the crime is. Whether it's a burglary or a shooting, our detectives are working those relentlessly with a huge sense of urgency. So on the next one, initiatives, locking your doors, we talked about it, Project Locked and Unloaded. That is us giving out free gun locks to the community, no questions asked. We've done it at all 3 of our districts, and just this week, we've added on 4 more library locations in the city. We want to do everything we can do to get people free gun locks so we can have more responsible gun owners. And the next one here is increasing our communication with the Neighborhood Watch Group. So we have 3 new coordinators. We've hosted town hall meetings to bring in the community so they can meet the coordinators and have that open house with each of them. All right, next one's quality assurance. We talked about hiring the victim advocate. Here's the additional details. Our victims advocate has assisted nearly 180 victims and family and provided emotional support, referral to counseling, and even assistance with compensation programs. All right, so this is something we started in the fall of last year, and this is part of our community policing and getting more feedback from the community. We did this community survey where it sends a text message to individuals that receive calls for service, and in response to those text messages, we've had a great response. And in the first one here, this is overall officer satisfaction. And you'll see here that 89% were either satisfied or very satisfied with the overall officer satisfaction. And in fact, we've opened it up where people can write comments. And one of the quotes, many of the quotes, the overwhelming are positive. And one I wanted to highlight was, this officer was very professional and helpful. The next one over there is overall department satisfaction. 88% were either satisfied or very satisfied. Obviously, the overwhelming majority were very satisfied. And again, the response here for a quote, the response and actions of TPD were outstanding. Now, the company that does this survey is through Versatern, which is our same records management. And when we started this up, I actually received comments from them saying they couldn't believe the overwhelming positive feedback they were getting. So anecdotally, he was giving me the information that we were getting great results compared to the other agencies. All right, next one, staffing and recruitment. Very important. We're growing the police department just like the city is growing. We want to raise the number of sponsored academies, which we've done that in the last budget year. You all approved that, so thank you. We evaluate all of our positions every year, both our police and our professional positions. We have an annual staffing analysis at the police department, and we pursue grant opportunities. If you recall, last year, we received a grant for 30 additional police officers from the federal government, which is assisting us, and we are filling those positions this year. We're also expanding our reserve program, which is a huge help for the officer on the streets because they can work some of the parades and other events, thus less of a draw from the officers working full-time. So in our staffing considerations at the police department, we take a multitude of things in consideration, and this slide highlights that. It's not just the population of the city. Sure, that's a factor that we look at, but we add in technology. We all know that technology is evolving fast, especially in law enforcement. We've seen body-worn cameras, we've seen other technology, training. The amount of training that police officers receive now, from when I started, is beyond fathomable. Special events, our city has a ton of special events. The ratio is, average ratio for law enforcement is 2.4 officers per 1,000. Then we have the real population. What is the real population? It's the amount of influx of people that come in for an event, or the amount of people that come in during the day for whatever function that is. Calls for service, it's not necessarily just the number of calls, but it's the time that we have to spend on calls, the time that we're spending investigating. And just something as simple as, the number of cameras that are out. Getting those cameras and getting those footage takes time, it takes manpower to do. And knocking on doors and getting that, and then actually recovering it and getting it evidence takes much longer than it does when an officer was 20 or 30 years ago on the street. And on top of that, we have other assignments that we didn't have decades ago. Our behavioral health unit, our real-time crime center, Our SRO program is much more stringent than it has been in the past. If an SRO calls in, we have to have another officer at that school. So community outreach, again, we're enhancing that as well. So recruitment, we talked about how we do that, but I want to add something. If I could just throw a slide up here on recruitment and you guys could take a look at it. The Police Executive Research Forum does studies for agencies, and what this shows is the percentage change in staffing. And you can see after 2020, a decline in staffing nationwide. And they've broken it down here between small agencies, medium agencies, and large agencies. And you can see after 2022, small and medium agencies start to increase, but large agency staffing has not increased. Fortunately, in Tampa, we haven't seen the results of many other large cities. In Florida, it's a desirable place. Tampa Police Department is a desirable place to work, but the number of applications has dwindled. We're still receiving applications. But what this is highlighting is police work in a large city is different than it is in a small and medium-sized city. I was at the U.S. Conference of Mayors meeting last week, and all of the mayors together were collectively coming up with strategies to recruit and appreciate officers working in large cities. And that's a nationwide trend. While not experienced at the level here in Tampa of other cities, we are feeling some of it. So to do that, we have created a new recruitment video that we have already pushed out. We're advertising. We're already getting comments outside of the state on this video, so I would like to highlight that and play it really quick.
The Tampa Police Department, a premier law enforcement agency in the state of Florida and home to one of Florida's most vibrant and diverse communities. The Tampa Police Department offers opportunities and flexibility for a bright future. We offer training programs to ensure that our officers are prepared and equipped with the tools they need to succeed.
The mission of the Tampa Police Department
is to work in partnership with our community
to reduce crime,
improve quality of life,
and to make Tampa safer
together.
At the heart of our mission is an unwavering commitment to building a stronger relationship with our community. Joining the Tampa Police Department means serving and making a difference in the community. Join us in making our city safer together. Your future starts here.
We're already getting some great feedback on that video. Our hope that it reaches people that aren't even considering law enforcement that would look at that and maybe consider it. And I think what it highlights, and one of the benefits of working at a large department, is there's so many different areas that you could go into. And it doesn't have to be traditional police work. It could be in a real-time crime center. It could be community policing, latent investigation, regular patrol, marine patrol, air service. So there's so many different things available for new recruits. So I'll go back to the PowerPoint. And then, of course, some of our initiatives that we're doing at HBCUs. We have Hispanic outreach. We're working closely with local minority groups. And then, of course, expanding our promotion of our 30 by 30 initiative. And we do have recruiters that go out to female sports at UT and USF, and of course social media targeting. We found on our first social media target that 10% of the views were coming from females, so we're redirecting our social media to try to get more from that angle. And here is kind of an outlook for the future. This is based on how the city grows, and this is based on all the other factors that we consider. And this number could change, but we are in the process of adding the 30 officers, And it's not, I want to make that clear, is you can't just say, I'm adding 30 officers like that. If we're hiring officers with no experience and putting them through the police academy, it's about a year and a half before we see them on the street. So it takes time. If we hire somebody with experience, then it's a little bit less. Maybe it's a year, or maybe it's 6 to 8 months, depending on their experience. But it's something that you plan ahead for in the future. So going into next year, we're looking at making the request for the budget of adding 10 additional officer slots. We feel by our hiring standards, it'll probably take a year towards the end of the year to where we can actually fill those positions, because it's not just filling the 30 and not just filling 10 more, it's also filling planned and unplanned vacancies. So our outlook for next year is to come in and request 10 additional slots, which would increase our total authorized strength to 1,024, which would keep the ratio at 2.4, but more importantly, be in line with all the other factors considered in a staffing. So I'm going to bring up Deputy Chief Johnson to talk about our community engagement, and when he's finished, any one of us up here will be able to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you.
Good morning, good morning. As you can see, when
I know he
Tampa
said your
Police
name, but could you
Department-
state your name for the record?
Calvin Johnson, Deputy Chief, Tampa Police Department. As you can see, the chief highlighted everything that we do as far as crime and what our officers do on a daily basis. One thing I want to highlight is you have to understand we're part of the community. Every officer that you see has a family. We want to make sure that the city of Tampa is safe so they can raise their children also. Community engagement is a very important part of our mission on top of reducing crime and investigating cases. So far, we try to reach out to everybody, but the most important thing is expanding the youth programs. As you see up here, our POW program. Once we got that back from Parks and Rec, we still partnered with them. We service almost 4,000 kids a year with Parks and Rec and the programs at POW, making sure that these kids have an outlet that they can go to when they're at home after school. When it comes down to the rich houses have officers that staff them, Robles Park and Sulphur Springs. When kids get out of school and they go home, some kids have nobody at home because their parents have to work. The kids go to the rich houses. We work with them on studying, doing their homework and activities. We talk with them about what they can do to be better kids at home with their parents. There's many aspects that go into that. They go on field trips during the summer. We really embrace that program. We want to make sure that them kids have everything they need to be successful. When it comes down to other youth initiatives, this program right here, the sports program, we work with Hillsborough County Schools. We have officers that go to these schools and talk with their sports teams, their basketball teams, their baseball teams, their football teams at the end of the season. They talk about life skills. They talk about behavior. They talk about the importance of school. They talk about the importance of not being involved in gangs. They have these real discussions. A lot of our police officers, they've also played sports. They talk about what they went through in their lives on how to stay out of trouble and not being a victim of peer pressure to get you into bad things that can hurt the rest of your life. So the officers that we have doing this, they come from the districts. They come from the streets. They come from calls. They take that time out and reach out to these kids, making sure they get everything they need to be successful in life. We also have a shoe closet. A lot of police officers, they give from their own bank accounts, from their own pockets. We have this program right here because we understand that these families out here with these kids, they can't afford things that other kids get at times. They reached into their own pockets, and we have 3 shoe closets. We raise shoes, we collected shoes, so when police officers are out there on the street and they see a kid that may need some new shoes, or they talk to a mother or father and they may need some assistance with their families, we're able to go here and provide them with the shoes that they may need at any given point in time. This counter right here is very important because we find that a lot of kids out there in their community, they don't understand policing. They don't understand what we do on a daily basis and why we do it. We started this program in January. It lasts for 5 months. In this program, we have kids that come in to meet at TPD. They sit down in our staff room. The room right here is where we have ComStat every month to discuss all crime, violent crime, everything we do as an agency. What we did here is these kids, they volunteer for the program. This is after school. This is at nighttime between like 6 and 8. They come here, they learn about policing, and they go on field trips to our training. They go to tactical response and see our tools out there. They go to communication, see how we handle 911 calls. What they also did was they gave us insight on how do you think. We asked them tough questions on what they're going through and how we can be better servants to get them through this part of their life to be successful. After this program right here, we have a youth academy. The youth academy goes on during the summertime. We go to Hillsborough County Schools in the city of Tampa. We recruit kids to spend a week in our training program, and they see everything from Marine Patrol to helicopters. They go on, our PAT test for physical fitness. They team up and they do it. It shows that partnership, but they learn not just what the police do on a daily basis, but they learn the stressors that police officers go through doing that job on a daily basis. A lot of times kids start that first day in this program, they don't know what they're getting into, and they're not happy being there that first day. That last day, you see a totally different child once they see what the police do, how we encourage them, and how we have love for their success in life. And you should see that first day and the last day on how we change the kids' perspective on law enforcement. Upcoming initiatives, I have to say that when Chief Burkall took over as chief, that focus on community engagement, on how we can reach the family, to me is second to none. Between that CVI grant, which reaches our youth who are being involved in violent crime, and not just trying to deal with that as just the police department. We work with a lot of nonprofits out there. We try and encourage them to step up because they're on the ground floor when it comes down to how to reach folks in our community. We can't get into every household as law enforcement officers. Nonprofits can, and they do all the time. That partnership is very important in reducing violent crime. The justice grants that we get, we encourage them and we work with them on how they can get their own grants. We know that everybody is trying to get a part of the budget, but there's more funds out there on the federal level to help out our city, our nonprofits, trying to improve our quality of life. And that is very important, and we see that a lot of these organizations, they don't have that background, so we work with them. TPD Cares Grant. We understand that people are hurting locally. I went to West Tampa Little League over the weekend. They had their end of the year ceremony. And they needed help with their baseball fields. Interbay baseball field last year, same thing. All these nonprofits out here locally, they need that help. Our police chief increased that amount to help them out. So I just want you to understand that he's not just here saying that violent crime needs to be reduced without putting his money where his mouth is. And I want the community to understand that our police department, our officers, they go above and beyond every day, not just running in the gunfire, but helping the youth on a daily basis, thinking about the future in 10 years from now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Just conclude with, and I think you said it really well, is we all truly care about our community. And I think it was Tuesday night in our town hall in East Tampa, a community member came up and actually said that she was from another city outside the state, and she compared where she was to where she is now, and the level of service and the individual unique community engagement that we provide. And it was heartwarming to hear, because that's a goal and aspiration for us to do. And the reward that we get from the community is a reward of changing people's lives, is why we're all here. So any one of us can answer any question. Depending on what it is, I'll hand it to a subject matter expert.
Thank you. Council members, I just want to remind everybody that we have a hard stop at 11:30, so we've got 19 minutes. We still have to hear from Tampa Fire Rescue. Councilman Vieira.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I wanted to thank you all for the presentation. That video especially was wonderful. You know, when I think of the people in Tampa Police Department, I think of the spirit that we've seen here today. It's a spirit of passion, of not just seeking justice against evildoers and wrongdoers, but also preventing crime. And we heard about that. The men and women of TPD are such a benefit and a blessing to our community. I saw in the video a friend of mine who I love a lot, Sharif. He's a good guy. When I think about what a young cop is, that's Sharif. A young guy with a family who's idealistic, has a big heart, and is going to do what he has to do. And the stressors that police officers go through, you talked about that. I was thinking about that if you did. I was in Texas on some legal stuff. And you know, when you're an attorney representing a big company, there's stress. You want to win. You want to do this. I couldn't imagine what it's like to be an officer and somebody comes to you and says, "I was raped. Somebody murdered my son or my daughter, etc." And that's on you. Same thing goes for the prosecutor too, by the way. That's tremendous stress. We know that it's been a very, very tough time to be a cop. It has been. That's a fact. It's always tough to be a cop, but especially the last few years. You've dealt with COVID. You've dealt with civil unrest. You've dealt with a lot of political attacks throughout our country, etc. People who, in my opinion, throughout the country have tried to make police officers feel ashamed for the work that y'all do. And my message has always been, have pride in being a cop. You got to be proud to be a cop, and I think that the vast majority of Tampaños and Americans across the political spectrum agree with that. I was glad to hear, Chief, you mentioned broken windows, James Q. Wilson. I always tell people, Tampa is not Portland in so many ways. I was in Portland 2.5 years ago for a trip I took with my son, and we stayed in Portland. And, you know, the things that distinguish Tampa from cities like Portland and cities like Tampa from cities like that is that we recognize the effect of violent crime that it has, not just on the community, but on marginalized communities, as I'll talk about, which is that, you know, that zip code. People think that because you live in Hunters Green or Tampa Palms or Bayshore, wherever it may be, that violent crime that happens in other communities is not your problem. It sure as hell is your problem. It is everybody's problem because we are one city and one community. So I think that's very, very important. I always say that we got to be tough on violent crime, but also tough on the causes of violent crime. That includes, as you said, hiring more police officers. I was glad to hear that that's part of it. We have to talk about long-term funding sources. I know that we have state and federal partners. I know with Congresswoman Laurel Lee, Congresswoman Kathy Castor, State Senator Jay Collins, State Representative Danny Alvarez, among others, have been helpful over the last few years in trying to get us grants, et cetera. You know, Republicans and Democrats. That's wonderful. We also have to look at local revenue sources. We've talked about public safety impact fees, mostly for Tampa Fire. That's not going to do the work. That is a half a chicken McNugget, and we need 6 McRibs. So I think that we need to look at more robust long-term revenue sources. I proposed last year a tiny millage increase of 0.3 to be dedicated to public safety. We need to have that discussion long-term. Things like community policing, I'm so happy to see that that continues to be pushed, especially post-COVID. The mental health component that we're getting expansion on funding on, and talking about being tough on the causes of violent crime. Youth programs, returning citizens, something that the city has been increasing its presence on. Every year, 750,000 Americans leave the prison system. Within 3 years, 2/3 will reoffend. That's a major issue whenever it comes to crime. Talking about victims of crime with assistance, a big, big issue. We have our friends in groups like Rise Up for Peace and making sure that folks who are victims of crime get the assistance they need. I recently had the opportunity to speak to Mr. Michael Baldwin, who you guys know very, very well, is the grandfather of the late Javario Bowie. I wanted to say, you know, number one, I asked him if I could say this, that he thinks that, you know, y'all are doing a good job, et cetera, and he's, you know, happy with that, including the state attorney's office, you know, but thinking about people like young Javario, who I know lays so heavy on y'all's hearts and on y'all's souls and minds, just like other people like Harrison Boonstapple. You know, Javario wanted to be a welder. He wanted to go to Tampa Bay Tech, Votech. He wanted to have a future. And he, you know, unfortunately was cut down because of violent crime. So again, I will either at the end of council, probably have to be at the end of council, make a motion for a report. It can be written on these steps and how they're going to specifically be in the budget monetarily. because I think that's very important to see how we bridge that gap in the budget. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilman Miranda.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your report. It's very invigorating. And you mentioned West Tampa. I had the honor of coaching between West Tampa and Wellswood about 15 years. And I have maybe 1,000 or so young men that I coach. Only one that I know of committed a crime later on in life. Uno. And that was because of drugs. When you talk about fear and hope, they don't have any fear. You know why? Because they have no hope. They don't know what fear is because they've given up. And what you're doing is attacking the crime before it starts with your terrific operation of speaking to the young people all at once and getting ideas and see where they come from. It was very well said when you said the people that you help in certain districts of the city that have no place to go when they go home. It's empty because they're working, because they don't have it. And that creates the no hope situation. And you're facing a monumentous task because it's not about what you and I and the rest of us want. It's what they see and live every day of their lives that we don't see and live. It's a difference in being who you want to be, because it's an old saying, don't dime quién tú eres, dime con quién tú andas and I'll tell you quién tú eres. Don't tell me who you are, tell me who you hang with and I'll tell you who you are. That's an old thing that I remember when I was a kid in Ybor City, they used to tell me that. And it's all about economics in a way. Was I a good student? I'm just going to use myself. Absolutely not. When you're born and raised where you're at, you have a certain limit of operation of what you're going to do, because not too many from that circle go anywhere else but within that circle that you hang out with. So there's where the problem starts, and I think you identified that by your 10 items that you spoke about and how you handle it. It's going to take years. You're not going to solve this in 1 day or in 1 day or 2 days or 4 administrations maybe, because you have to change a mindset. And that's very, very difficult to do. First of all, you're doing the right thing by saying where the gun's coming from. A great percentage from vehicles that have a gun inside with keys inside the car and a 2-car garage or something open. So invite me, take anything you want is yours. You've got to uninvite crime instead of accepting crime. You can do that if you realize that every time you leave something open, it's liable to walk away. And it's happened to me. So what I'm saying is you got to be vigilant, no matter where you live. It could be in a gated community, and you still got the same problems. Not to maybe the great extent, but the same problems. So the only way you're going to do it is the way you're doing it, by talking to the young and understanding that it's not about what's outside of their realm, but it's within their purview of doing who they want to be. And you got to instill one other confidence word. That's confidence in them that they can do it. And by talking to them like you're doing and showing them success, they might change their mind. Notice I say might, because they got to go back to that same household, to the same neighborhood, to where you see an individual with shining cars and a lot of money, and you're walking around with old tennis shoes, you ain't got a damn thing to do but hang out. Your chances of making it out are nil. So I can tell you from experience, you're doing the right thing, and the public's got to be aware this is not going to change overnight. Guns don't kill people. The gun that has a trigger in the hand kills the people. And it's used because there is no fear, because there is no hope. But thank you for what you're doing, and you're not really increasing the police department, because I believe from now and then you'll have 4 or 5 retirements. But thank you for what you're doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We do have a time certain, 11:30, per request of the CFO, so we'll continue this discussion. We'll go to the 11:30, and then we'll flip it back to fire. Councilmember Clendenin, Carlson, Henderson.
Thank you, Chief. I just wanted to, once again, you've heard it from me before, our very first meeting, we talked about the police involvement with youth, and you've really led by example and exceeded my best expectation of what Tampa PD can do. I actually learned a few things about the youth engagement that you all are doing today that I wasn't aware of, so it's even much better than I thought. I appreciate you guys continuing down that effort, because I think that is something that is really important, not just for our community, but also those individuals, those people that we're talking about. because those are going to be productive members of our society one day, and I appreciate that you guys doing what you do to help that out. I think we're kind of ignoring the elephant in the room when we talk about the shootings that have occurred in Tampa across for the last 6 months or so, and the diversity of where these things have occurred and the commonality. And I would kind of like to hear you speak about that, because with Ybor City, Tampa Heights, downtown, South Howard, in various different places, I know a lot of these folks, it's not locally generated, it's generated from outside people coming in. So maybe share some of your thoughts, and I'm sure that's what a lot of these folks are here to hear you talk about.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. It doesn't matter where, anywhere in the city is our top priority. And anything that we can do to prevent it in the first place, we will. And then the biggest message is out there is, if it does happen, something unfortunate, what helps us in making the arrest and then getting charges filed by the state attorney is cooperation. And it's cooperation that we see that has led to the arrest in these cases. We did put out a video on the incident in South Howard, and so we're asking the community for help and tips in that, but that's what helps us solve the cases. We can't do it alone. There's 1,000 police officers roughly in the city. There's 400,000 residents, not to count additional people that come in. And for us to prevent crime and solve crime, we work collectively together, and that's why I'm out in the community. That's why I'm out doing foot patrol. That's why I'm doing town hall meetings, because the more of those meetings, the more information we get, that collectively we can all work to make Tampa safer together.
Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Carlson, Councilmember Henderson.
Yeah, first I want to thank Chief Burkhaw for the call on Sunday morning when he woke me up with the bad news of what had happened a little while before. It was very helpful, because the first call I got about it was from him, and then we got a flood of calls from the community. And then he and the mayor participated in the town hall meeting last night for South Howard, and want to thank them for doing that as well. There's something I want to show on the slide in a second, but I want to ask you about the numbers of staff. The numbers you showed, I think it's adding up to about 80 staff over 5 or 6 years. Is that net of the retirements? Because I hear there are a lot of people in drop that are going to be leaving. So is that net, or just add a replacement of people who are leaving?
We could go back to that slide if somebody could put it back up. Slide presentation. Not the Elmo, but the PowerPoint. And let me back up to it. So the authorized strength before the 30 officers was 984. So you can see the authorized strength. So I'm not sure if that answers your question.
It's a net, just to make sure right.
But again, that all varies year to year. This is projections, but things will change. Population growth may change. The workload on officers may change, but if we're trying to project, this is a projection that gets reanalyzed every year.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, if you could just keep us in mind for that, because all the police officers I talk to, anywhere I go, they say, please give us help. We need support. They'd like to have more than 80 now, but whatever we can do to support you on that, let us know.
I think the biggest thing, and that's what I was trying to say with the video and the stats that I showed from the nation, is support for the position of police officer. And that's where the U.S. Conference of Mayors is coming together for the entire nation, is supporting police officers and what they do. Because I'm sure money is important, benefits are important, but appreciation for the job is the most important for getting us.
Yeah, and I want to also I think last night, but I want to thank the police officers who rushed into the line of fire on Sunday morning. It was very brave, again, what they did. Andrew, could you please show the slide for Florida? This is the FBI stats. And Chief, you and I talked about this on the phone. Maybe bring it down just a little bit. No, that's good. This is can you move it up just a little bit? It's 2012 to 2022. So that you can see the shape of the Florida. This is from the FBI violent crime statistics. Can you put the United States one on there? And so you see in 2018, it went up, but then 2020, 2021, it went down. Same thing for Florida. Can you show the Tampa one, please? And this is one of as we talked before, this is one of the statistics that the city of Tampa supplies to. I screenshot this from my phone so it doesn't look that great, but what it shows is that while the U.S. was going down and Florida was going down, we spiked, and then it went up again, I think, the next year, but now it's come down. So the question is, there people in the community, because of all the publicity and the individual things that have happened, they think that violent crime is up. The statistics you showed that it's down, but where is it in comparison to 2020 or 2019 or 2018 when it was lower? So are we getting closer to going back to the low point, or are we kind of on a 10-year average right now?
Well, first of all, when you look at crime, you have to look at us on a scale. And if you want to go back to 2002, and I'm trying to find that slide, I'll find it in just a minute, the amount of crime that we had in the crime reduction. So at some point, we'd all like to see zero crime, right? I mean, ideally, then we wouldn't have to have a police force. But getting that number as low as it is, of what we work so hard to do, just maintaining that number is a challenge, much less getting a reduction. So you have to look at it at a whole scale over the last 20 or 30 years as opposed to just 2 or 3 years, because other cities may not have had that reduction that we've had, which is almost 80%. And you think about how low that we've gotten it, now the percentages are going to change. And of course, population increases. So those are all things that you have to take into account when you're looking at it. Is the better the police department is and all the great work that they're doing, the harder it is to keep that. Think about, you know, if you're going out and you're playing a sport or you're doing the Olympics, how hard it is. You've created that world record. Now you have to beat that world record again the next year. It's even that much more challenging, the standards that you're setting for yourselves.
Before we run out of time, is there any simple answer that we can tell people as to why you've been successful, you know, working with your great team, bringing it down where it was headed up before and now it's headed down? Is there any simple answer that we can give the public about why we're having success now, besides the fact that you're there?
Yeah, best practices. We follow up on best practices and evidence-based policing, and we're not just running out on a cord and doing what we think's best. We do foundations, we work with other agencies, we incorporate what's successful, we share what's successful, and we put our energy in the right places on the right offenders.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Councilman Henderson.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it's 11:28. I'll try to be brief. First of all, thank you for your presentation, Dr. Chief. I do want to say about the video, I pay attention to the small things. There wasn't enough of a youth presence within the video, and I know that we focused on that area of engagement because that is where we can reduce crime in the long term. So maybe throwing in some shots of police engaging with our youth would be ideal for that particular video, so that, you know, future recruits can see that community engagement and community policing is a big part of everyone's responsibility. Shielding our teens. Is Deputy Baker's role in that, is that a volunteer thing, or is she paid to do that? Do you have officers to expand that program throughout?
She's in our community policing, so that's part of her job function, but off the record, I'm sure she volunteers a lot of her time as well, in addition to that.
Okay. I was just wondering if you considered that from a budget standpoint, the shielding our youth.
She's in our community outreach division, so that is part of her job.
In terms of expansion of it, besides it just being deputy, I mean,
Yes.
her.
She's
Okay.
assigned to District 3, and we have other officers in other districts that are doing the same.
I heard you tell the community at the meeting in East Tampa the other day about cell phones and putting those in the hands of officers. It was in the budget last year. Of course, it didn't make it because of the millage. Is that something that you really plan to do this year in the budget, and how are your officers feeling about that from a PBA standpoint?
Our plan is to move forward with that, thanks to a grant that we received from federal funding through Representative Kathy Castor, who's been a great supporter of law enforcement. And she was able to get federal appropriations for technology, and we do plan on using a proportion of that for cell phones.
Okay. And as it relates to behavioral health, that also can contribute to crime reduction. The staff right now, did you ask for an increase in that in the future budget, or is it going to remain the same?
At this point, we're looking at several grants. We received the Connect and Protect grant for communications to already expand that program, so that grant is actually just starting, and we're applying for a grant to expand that program, so that would be hopefully approved and be able to be expanded without additional money from the city.
I know that Deputy Chief Kate handles like these big events and like the Omni Arena. Can we treat nightclubs or entertainment areas in the same capacity when it comes to officers? Because I know when I arrive at the Omni Arena, I feel safe. I see a lot of police officers. I know Ybor is treated that way, but our other areas, because I think that is an opportunity to reduce crime when you address it from the same way that you address it when you go to places like the larger places like the Tampa Stadium, Raymond James, and Omni Arena, things like that.
No, it's a great point, and that's something we are working with legal on the extra duty ordinance. There's an ordinance there that needs revision, so that is something that we are in a work in progress on.
Okay. And my last thing is it kind of blows me away that kids get access to guns because people leave them in their cars. From a marketing standpoint, I know that we know that, we've heard it over and over again. From a marketing standpoint, maybe just an idea that popped up in my head is maybe we can put something in the water bills to tell people to lock their guns or lock their cars. Any way that we can do it from a marketing perspective and it's communicated to the entire city of Tampa, even putting it in our newspapers, I don't know, maybe that can, assist in that process. But I appreciate your presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And before we pause and go to Mr. O'Hara, I don't understand why this gun violence that we see, why people shoot each other, because it's meaningless for the most part. I don't see, it's self-defense. It's why are kids, young people shooting each other? It was asked this morning, do you know the names of the individuals that were killed Sunday? I was down there after church Sunday morning on Howard. The road was still closed after everybody was there because I know it happened close to 3 a.m. I was there about 8:30 or so. You have a 24-year-old and approximately another 28-year-old. 96 and 2000 were their date of births. One gentleman's last name was Christmas, from my understanding. But I see these things, Howard Avenue, East Tampa, South Tampa, whatever. I just don't understand the problem with gun violence in this country, in this world. But it seems like if it's not a mass shooting at a school, I remember being a freshman in high school and it was Columbine. And I know there were mass shootings before, but as a teenager, I thought, when I heard it on the news, I said, it must be happening at my high school. I didn't know what it was because it was new. But it's like, what? I don't understand this gun mentality. And I'm a Second Amendment, self-defense, protect yourself, defend yourself, use a firearm responsibly, lock it up responsibly. But these young people shooting each other, killing each other, for what? And these mothers and grandmothers and family members burying their children and family members. It breaks my heart. But the thing is, what can we say? Stop killing each other. There's more to life. There's more to, I don't even know the words, but we as a community, you as a police department, we all need to work together to educate and show the youth, the young people, that gun violence is not the answer. I don't know what the right thing to do is. We talked about funding PAL. We talk about funding after-school programs, but just getting the message out there. Stop killing each other.
No, it's a great point, and I could write a whole dissertation on that, but if you want a quick 10-second answer, is the availability of guns. There's more guns out there and they're more accessible, and that's a nationwide trend.
No, thank you very much. On that, I will pause. I will bring up Mr. O'Hara. He has about a 15-minute presentation. We are going to break for lunch at 12:30. We've already mentioned with Tampa Fire that they will come up right after lunch. It's been discussed with the maker of the motion and folks from the union that are in the audience.
I appreciate it.
Hello, Mr. O'Hara. Good morning.
Hello, Mr. Chair, and hello, council. If I can have the presentation up, please. Thank you very much. And again, good morning, Council. Dennis Rajero, Chief Financial Officer. Thanks for having me here today. Pardon me, I got a little cricket in my throat. Thanks for having me here today for our mid-year presentation, fiscal year 24. And thank you also for your flexibility on the time certain. I really appreciate that. As you know, we do this about halfway through the year, every year, presenting to council and the public the status of the current year and some of the highlights. Pardon me. At council's request, we've expanded the presentation this year to include how we ended last year, fiscal year 2023. And it coincides with our second quarterly report that was distributed this morning. Also, at council's request, we are providing it earlier than we had historically done, about 2 weeks earlier. And I think you'll see that early philosophy continue on through our budget prep process for fiscal year 25. As a reminder to the public, typically this is just one of 2 items that we don't share ahead of time. The other one is, of course, the mayor's budget presentation, which council will see in just a few months. Of course, as always, we'd love to hear your questions either today or after you've had time to review, or after your budget analyst has had time to review. Hello, ma'am. This presentation is also on the city's website. So looking back, a little retrospective on fiscal year 2023. Pardon me. The first thing I'd like to say about last year was that it could not have gone better from a financial statement perspective. And financial reporting and financial statements are a big part of what we do and an important component of what we do. And the good news is it typically doesn't get a lot of attention because it's done well, but when it's done unwell, when it's not done well, it gets a lot of attention. And of course, things went very, very right last year. As council knows, the external audit is required by state law and the Auditor General. And for the 3rd year in a row, you see it on the slide there, we got the best you can get. A clean audit with no negative comments nor findings by the external auditor. And of course, that external auditor is not my employee. It's an independent CPA firm. What's that mean? What's a clean audit mean? It means the mayor, it means city council, it means the public, it means the investors in the bond market are getting crystal clear clarity, a lot of C's there, on what our financial situation was last fiscal year. And that's exactly what we want. So a terrific reflection on the city and our financial management. We have a very good history of conservative and successful financial management. So congratulations to the mayor, to you. It really does take all of us. And of course, congratulations to my fantastic accounting team. It's performance like this, the reason why you were giving them a commendation just a short time ago, a few months ago. So how'd we end fiscal year 23? In a word, we ended it strong, as we projected we would, and zeroing into the general fund, which is what we often concentrate on. It's a good thing we did end strong because we have some headwinds that we needed to tackle that I'll get in just a minute. You see on this slide at the top, total revenues, pardon me, were more than expenses, so that allowed us to increase our total fund balance about $19 million. And you see in the bottom right, the total is ended last year, at $189 million. Now, there's a lot more to that and more to unpack, and we're going to do that very briefly in the next few slides because fund balance gets a little complicated when you're talking about governmental accounting standards. So I'd like to break down that $189 million for you and the public and include a brief primer on what we've got to deal with conforming with our fund balance requirements. And you see on the slide there are 5 types of fund balances. 3 of them are right there. Excuse me. At the top, you have the non-spendable. That's basically you have something in a non-spendable form. You got it, you can't spend it. A great example of that over on the right are inventories. Okay, we've got to account for those, but we can't spend those. The restricted fund balance, we don't have any in the city at this time, but for your and the public's knowledge, includes grant funding and certain types of taxes. The committed fund balance, kind of as the name implies, This is funding set aside for previous commitments, obligations the city has made, and we have made some, or future obligations that the city has made. And again, I'm trying to be very brief and 50,000-foot level for you here. The assigned fund balance, again, for a specific purpose. All fund balances other than the unassigned are for specific purposes, and that's why we label them in such detail. You see some great examples there are insurances, our emergency, hurricane funding, claims and judgments, health care, and other commitments and obligations the city has for the current year, and I'm going to get into a little more detail in just a moment. And then, of course, last but not least, number 5 in the lower left, the unassigned fund balance. This is typically what we talk about because it anchors our fund balance policy and zeroes in on that 23-24% that we and the rating agencies like to see. So picking up that piece, pardon me, you see the funding has been placed from last year in accordance with those requirements. And here's where some of those headwinds we talked about are going to come in. You see non-spendable, again, inventories, very little of that, less than $1 million, but we've accounted for it. And then you get into the purchase orders. We made obligations last year that have carried forward into this year in the form of purchase orders. We've got to account for that, and that's set aside. And then the first of those headwinds, you'll recall the Dubois settlement from a couple of months ago. It's a $14 million total obligation spread over 3 fiscal years. The 2 fiscal years, fiscal year 25 and 26, are $5 million, $3 million, then $2 million. We've accounted for that and set it in our committed reserves because we've committed to pay that, and we don't want anybody, including City Council, looking for that funding when the time comes. It's there. And then when you get into, pardon me, the assigned at the very bottom there are $44 million, claims and judgments. We are increasing our claims and judgment fund balance significantly based on experience. It's probably, I'll tell you right now, it's probably on the conservative side, but we can see how the year goes and we can see if we can bring that down. But this is an accidental and litigious society, is it not? So we put some funding there. There is the current year obligation next of the Dubois settlement, $9 million. We've made that obligation. We've set that funding aside. It's ready. Our health care, we are, I know council knows this, but perhaps the public doesn't. We're self-funded for health care, so it's a very, very sensitive subject for us, and we want to keep our eye on it. To that effect, we have increased, pardon me, our health care fund balance to what is the industry best practice of 90 days of expenses. Prior to us doing this, it was 75 days, which is not bad, but the industry best practice is 90 days. And you see that reflected in the healthcare fund balance. Our emergency storm hurricane fund goes by many names. We have replenished it after using $5 million of it for Hurricane Idalia and replenished it to the level it has historically been at. It's usually been around, bless you, it's usually been about $8 million over time. Its primary purpose, I think, as you know, is to float our cash needs while we, in the immediate aftermath of a storm, for example, and as we await federal and state assistance. And then we have, I'm sorry, and then we have some other commitments that are too numerous to be brief that I've put there at $2 million. And then the assigned total you see of $44.2 million. Our unassigned fund balance brings us back to that $137 million. That ended up being 23%, which is what we like to see. 3% more than our fund policy. I'll remind the public that our fund policy, our balanced fund unassigned policy is 20%. This is about $13 million more than that, so a very strong fund balance. Maintained a strong fund balance, managed to fund some unforeseen obligations, shored up some of our special fund balances, and left 23 nice and strong. So it's a good story. I think we've also got a good story in the current year. Speaking of the current year, if we move on to fiscal year 2024. As we typically do, and this will be very brief, just a quick overview of the total budget council approved last September, nearly $1.8 billion. And the two largest components are what we typically talk about most often, the general fund and the enterprise funds, which make up about 3/4 of that budget. And here are those two main funds broken out. On the left, the general fund, consisting of primarily of public safety, parks and recreation, economic development, and support operations. And then primarily your utilities on the right, water, wastewater, and solid waste. Zeroing in, if we may, on the general fund, this is typically the majority of our focus and often a majority of the citizens' focus because it is the money that the mayor and city council have the most flexibility with. As I've said before, as the name implies, it can generally be spent on anything. So if there's a dollar worth more than another dollar, this is it. Because of this flexibility, it's also the one with the most competing and varied demands. It's also funded primarily from property taxes, and property taxes also typically get a lot of focus. So the general fund is very important to us. So how's the general fund doing this year? Overall, it's doing well. If we could jump into our major revenues, and you see that the property tax revenue's right there, that's the largest single source of city revenue. The squares you'll see in the upper right on these slides are green or red, whether they're green for good, red for not so good, and you see that property taxes are good. They're trending a little bit up. We think we're going to end with more than we budgeted. I'm sorry. Yeah. I apologize. I keep thinking I hear somebody say. In about 2 weeks, we'll get the property appraiser's preliminary property valuations for next fiscal year, and that is likely to change our projections. Again, we start out very conservatively, but we'll know far more in about 2 weeks. Unfortunately, our half-cent sales tax revenue is not doing quite as well. The good news with the half-cent sales tax is that it's keeping pace with last year's receipts, but it is a little bit short, pardon me, it is short of what we budgeted, and we think that's primarily due to the additional sales tax holidays being given by the legislature. It does have an impact on local revenue, and we're seeing that this year. Again, keeping pace, but not as much as we budgeted nor would have liked. Our revenues coming from electricity are electric franchise fees and our electric utility services tax. I won't get into the details on what those mean, but they're basically correlated with the price of electricity. You see both finishing strong and both, coincidentally, anticipated to bring in about $46 million this year. So that's good news from a revenue standpoint, but as council knows, we're also a customer, so we also pay electricity. So we will not recognize all of that revenue. We will take a hit in our operating costs associated with the electricity costs. Our communication services tax, it's an important component, pardon me, of our revenues. And you see, pardon me, about $17 million. It has plateaued, and it's been plateaued for quite some time. It is worth mentioning, though, that we're at this stage happy that it's leveled off because about a decade ago it was bringing about double. It was bringing about $30 million. So it declined very, very rapidly due to landline cancellations. People are using cell phones now. They're just simply not using as many landlines. And this is not a favorite tax of the Florida legislature. They have attacked it almost every year. But it's leveled out, so at this point, we'll take that. $17 million is $17 million. Moving on to our expenses, personnel costs. This is the most expensive and I would submit the most important part of running a large American city. Nothing happens without the people, and this is paying for those people. We project personnel costs to be pretty tight, about 2% variance, a little bit over, and due primarily to pension contributions and overtime. and our operating costs. Not quite as tight, about 4% over budget, and the primary reasons is I don't think it's going to be a surprise to anybody in addition to the electricity costs that I referenced. Fuel, vehicle maintenance, and we're replacing our vehicles slowly but surely, but we still do on average have an old fleet and it costs money. So you'll see that uptick in our projected expenditures. Moving into our pensions, a very important component of our financial picture and, of course, a very important component of our City of Tampa employees' lives. Our fire and police pension fund that you see right there, along with our general employees pension fund, combined about $3 billion worth of assets. And as you know, they rely primarily on investments. Okay. On the theory that they're going to be here forever, so we've got to keep that funding going. And how those investments do is related to how much contribution the city has to make. And you see it went up, pardon me, for 2024. We think it's going to come in right at budget, which is good. But it did go up. And those are the ramifications of, I think, what everybody would describe to be a terrible year in 2022. It takes a little time for the good performance of 2023 to catch up, and we're seeing that. But it's right on target, from a budget perspective, as is the general employees pension. So good news from a budget perspective on the pension front. So where do we think we'll land? We anticipate we'll end this year on the far right. You see it about $146 million, or about $9 million more in our, you see, unassigned fund balance. That's a little less than what we'd like, the 24% that we enjoyed outside of the pandemic. 22% is still strong, and we do have a number of months left in this fiscal year. So ideally, as you progress through the year, you've got more data to work with and your projections become more and more accurate. But that's where we're thinking. And again, well above our 20% policy, about $13.5 million. As a reminder, again, to the council and the public, those anomalies in fiscal year 2020 and 21, 28% and 27%, that was due to the federal and state assistance associated with the pandemic. We brought in the funding, we held it, spent it, and you see that fund balance, decrease. The opposite side of decreases, of course, the general fund typically increases every year, and so the fund balance, in order to retain that ratio, that 22, 23, 24%, it has to increase every year too, and you certainly see that in the slide. As has been the case for the last 5 years, I genuinely want to thank City Council for your continuing support of this strong fund balance. I really think it's at the heart of so many of the successes we've had in the city, and I think our performance bears that out. Moving quickly into the enterprise funds. Again, nearly half the total budget, and these are the departments, as council knows, that we mandate to run like a business. They are to be self-sufficient, they are to make their own money, and in the private sector, you'd call them generating a profit. In the public sector, any profit they generate is reinvested into the particular enterprise, and they're called enterprise funds. You see parking still doing well. New parking rates went into effect in late 2021, and we're seeing the benefits of that. And their fees continue to be indexed in order to mitigate the adverse impacts of inflation. We project they'll use less fund balance than we anticipated this year. That's good news, and still funding nearly $9 million of capital improvement projects. On the other end of the spectrum, the solid waste department continues to get hit pretty hard. They're going to use more fund balance than we anticipated, about $24 million. And that's due primarily to the longer than anticipated outages going on at the waste to energy. We accounted for those outages, but it's taking a little longer associated with the refurbishment and upgrades. As you know, we'll be coming to council in about a week, well, in exactly a week, for the first of 2 meetings to talk about the potential for rate increases and financing some of their major projects. And we'll go into a lot more detail during those 2 meetings. Wastewater Department, doing well, going to add a little bit to their fund balance. You see their revenues coming in higher than anticipated and holding the line on expenses, ending up at the bottom right with a projected fund balance of just under $125 million. The variance still is consistent with their long-term plan for their projects and the PIPES program. And the Water Department also did well, revenues in excess of expenditures and also a reduction in the expenses. You see on the far right, at the bottom, $177 million. Again, consistent with that 20-year PIPES program, but a good story for them. And the budget calendar. This typically, officially kicks off the budget preparatory process for the next fiscal year. And you see, in keeping with, again, our discussions with council and council's requests, we are doing things earlier than we've done in the past, the mayor's budget presentation, mid-July. It's often in early August. You see the 2 workshops that we've recently discussed with council for early and mid-August, and then, of course, the 2 public hearings. I know this is probably a lot of information to take in, but I do genuinely appreciate this opportunity, and as I think you know, I'm willing to talk about finances just about as long as you're willing to listen. So thank you again for your flexibility. In closing, we think we remain in a very strong financial position heading into budget development for next year while maintaining our fund balance. Thank you, Council.
Thank you very much. And I know we have one-on-one briefings. We have a meeting set up coming soon, so we'll have more discussion. Councilmember Clendenin.
A couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
I know you said it was within variance, but personnel cost it was kind of odd. Can you throw that screen back up there?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
It's way back.
If I can have the presentation. Thank you. Oh, personnel costs, there you go.
So, obviously you see a dramatic increase from 2020, so in 4 years. We see that spike, and I know what part of that is. But you see even the projections, to me it seems like, why are we off on projections? Because we know it's such a static expense. So can you explain that?
Yes, you've got a couple of different components within their terminal leave, for instance. Terminal leave is when people are paid out for leaving the city upon retirement, et cetera. And and that's one component, and that's one of the itemizations that increase. We try to project it to the best of our ability, but it's coming in higher than anticipated in the first 6 months. Might there be room for it to come down in the next 6 months? Maybe, but based on history, we're projecting it's going to be more than we anticipated. Overtime is also another good example. One of the things to remember, and now that I'm thinking about it, maybe a further discussion is framing it so you can see some personnel costs are offset by revenues, for instance. We do get revenues for some personnel costs. And you'll see those in our major revenues. This is simply a summation of all of our personnel costs. But, let's see, terminal leave, I've already talked about that. The overtime also, it's difficult to get a bead on it. As council knows, we haven't even finished last year when we're already adopting the budget for this year. So it really is the best educated guess in many of these things. And that's one of the reasons we like to come with 6 months of solid data and share with council and the public where we think we're heading for the remainder of the fiscal year. Again, I know we don't have 6 months left, but that's what this information is based on. And we'll continue to update them.
Yeah, and I know we have a lot of more bites of this apple, but it's just seen on a graph like this, the significant increase from 2020 to 2024. It's kind of shocking just to see that. And over time, what departments are really sharing that burden of overtime? Like where are we seeing that?
Public safety.
Okay, that's not separate, broken out from this personnel cost? That's not a different slide, public safety? Personnel
No,
cost?
it's not broken
So
out. but we
personnel
can- we
cost
can-
is incorporated into
Yeah, we
this?
can provide that
Okay.
breakout to you, yes.
Okay, so public safety is in this slide?
Yes.
Okay, that's good to know. Parking, there's a $6 million projected overage over budget.
Mm-hmm.
So that money would be available to shift to paving?
Good.
Okay,
Yes.
noted.
Second.
No, and I appreciate where you're coming from. But,
Yeah.
you know, one caveat associated with that, and of course, I know council knows, but it's worth reiterating. We would want to provide you with how that might impact their future plans for that funding, because they are doing some capital improvements.
Yeah, well, I'm always looking for ways to
Yes, sir.
improve our third world roads. So any way that we can do that to increase funding, that would be great. So as we look, in fact, again, I know you and I've had that conversation, as we look towards 2025 budget and the future discussions we're having, I'm gonna be looking for a substantial increase in our road budget to improve the roads throughout the entire city of Tampa. So
Yes, sir, I appreciate you sharing that with us ahead of time. And I appreciate all your feedback and your time briefing me.
thank you, that's all for now. Thank you, appreciate it, Dennis.
Thank you, sir.
Miranda.
Thank you very much. And along the same lines, I believe that paving, the city is taking their own paving and doing some of that ourselves, aren't we not?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think you're gonna see that quite often. You're gonna get more 4 miles for your buck than ever before.
Yes, exactly,
And I believe
capitalizing
part
on
of
some of those efficiencies,
Yeah,
yes.
and I believe part of the personnel cost is, we have expenditures of about $250,000 a day, and I'm gonna talk to you very generically if I could, regarding paving, regarding the expenditure when certain events are happening in town in certain areas that cost that much, and those events usually happen between August and December, the majority of them. So I think when August comes, you're gonna see that line gets a little smaller because of the amount of money that we have to spend in fire and police and traffic systems that we put up throughout certain areas of the city to cover what the contract says that ends in 2027, I believe.
2027, yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So these are the things that you look at. I think that, I don't think it'll cover all of it, but it'll cover the majority of it. But thank you very much. That's all I got to say.
And thank you. If I could just postscript that real quick, what I neglected to mention on your question, Councilman Clendenin, was also state contributions for retirements, for the pension programs, also a little more than we anticipated, so thank you.
Okay, good. Councilmember Carlson.
Thank you for doing this and for being thorough and showing
Yes, sir.
the back perspective on it. When you talk about the fund balance, trying to figure out the right slide. When you talk about the fund balance, this is the consistent number that we've been looking at over several years. So I think it was projected to be about 150 this year, right? Do I remember that correctly?
Oh, yes, I think we're talking about the unassigned fund balance, are you referencing the
Because this time you
historical
went
chart, for
this time you went into more detail on
Yes.
on what makes it up, but I think it's still the same number, because if you look back to, can we go to that slide? I can't find what the number
Yes,
was.
I'm sorry.
It's the,
If you'll let me know when you see it, I'll stop it there, sir.
it's the line graph.
Oh, okay. The bar chart, I'm sorry.
The one that goes back to
Oh, okay,
2017.
I'm heading the wrong way.
Which one?
There you are.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, thank you. But just to show the public, this was one of the main issues that I was interested in. I know you and the mayor also were interested in it. But the thing is, we need to have money in reserves for a lot of reasons, or we can get in big trouble. And this doesn't go all the way back to 2011, but in 2011, Pam Ioro's administration left $150 million in it. By 2017, we had somewhere around $85 million. The percentages maybe were consistent, but we only had $85 million. And then now, this year, we just surpassed $150 million for the first time since somewhere around 2011.
Yeah.
And so it actually, you and your team and everyone should get more credit than we are, because it's a big accomplishment. Now, the overall budget has more than doubled, and so as a percentage, it's impacted. But the other thing is, as you broke it out, and so one, thank you for doing that. It's a very important thing. I think we have to have this. But the first 20% of it, I think, just helps us keep our our bond ratings, right? So how, and you went through the breakout of some of it. The way I used to roughly look at it is if 20% is a minimum for the bond ratings, then maybe we have 2 or 3% above that. That's kind of the rainy day
Rainy
fund.
day fund, yes,
But
sir.
now that we're down to 22% plus these enterprise funds, it sounds like this is general fund, but it sounds like we don't have a rainy day fund at all, right?
No, we've had this discussion, no, and I appreciate your emphasis. I would answer it this way. It's above our policy. And if worse comes to worse, again, it's about 13 million. I think I've said that it's above our policy. And that 13 million, I don't want to say is more important than the other 20%, but I do want to emphasize that when we're looked at, you got two different worlds. You got the real world where we need the cash, okay, and we've got that funding if a hurricane hits, and we've got to float a great deal of cash. We've got it, but we also have to look at the rating agencies and the market, and what they'll look at is holistically how much do you have in that unassigned fund balance. They do like the fact that it's in excess of our policy. But we're a little bit on our back foot because we've held it in excess of our policy for so long. So any drastic reduction would catch their eye in a negative way. So
Yeah, the point-
I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the point to the public is that even though it's 22%, we really can't reduce that, because if we do, then our bond
Yes,
rating
sir.
goes down and our interest rates go up, and it costs us a lot more, especially since there's so much bonding going on.
Yes,
On
you said it
page-
better than I did, thank you.
On page 14, the way I read this is we're a few $1 million above projection. What's happening to the surplus?
The surplus is
And how much is it?
generally, no, it's a good question. At this time, I'm pretty confident that our revenue surplus are going to balance out or compensate for our expenditure overages. And we'll end up, again, we've still got 6 more months of data. We'll end up with a little more than we anticipated.
But just
it's-
remember from my colleagues and the public, city council has to approve those overages. And so
Yes, sir.
if somebody made the decision to go over budget because they thought the revenues were going to be higher, that should have been a strategic discussion of city council, because we have to decide, do we want to put it in roads or housing or whatever?
Understood.
My first priority is to put it in the general fund reserve. My second priority is roads. And then after that, parks and public safety, and then parks. That we have so many needs in all of these. So I hope that you and the administration will come back at some point and talk to us about that, and so we can be part of that decision-making. Yes, by charter, the mayor proposed the budget, but it's up to us to decide it. And that thing, I always say this to my colleagues, what typically happens, watching the city over many mayors, is that the staff comes and talks to each city council member individually, and they ask you kind of what goodies you want. And my answer is always, I don't want any. And my suggestion to my colleagues is you should say the same thing. If we can, whatever the proposal is, we can talk about general themes, but if somebody says, well, I need a $200,000 park or $1 million park, you can come to city council with 4 votes or 5 votes, we can get a $5 million park. We can, once the budget is proposed, we can do whatever we want. The power on the budget is with city council, as long as we're not cutting side deals. And so what I've observed in the past, especially before I got on council, is that there were side deals cut for very small amounts of money when city council could have been more strategic. This year, we need to be really good about moving more money into roads. It's unacceptable, the status of our roads. And also, you talk about overtime with public safety. That wasn't presented to us a little while ago, but that is part of the argument that the police officers are telling us anecdotally, is that there aren't enough police officers to do off-duty work, and that's why, one of the reasons why we need more police officers. And if we had more police officers, people would be less stressed out because they wouldn't have to get the overtime work. They could be with their families instead. And so we need to think strategically about that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Wait, so as you know, I'm a professional overthinker, and I have concerns, especially in regards to the half-cent sales tax. I know that there is a renewal coming up on the ballot, but there's also one in regards to the school board, correct?
Yes.
So there's 2 proposed taxes, even though one is essentially a renewal.
Yes, sir.
My fear is that it doesn't pass. It doesn't go through because there's two on the ballot, because of the political climate, because of whatever reason, then what do we do? I know that we've committed the CIT money through until it ends, which is right around the corner.
Yes, sir.
But there's a lot of things that we want to do. There's things that we bonded out that we could possibly pay down earlier with that CIT revenue. I'm just worried that we don't over leverage and overextend ourselves, and we find ourselves with, I mean, the CIT has been very productive, I think, and very favorable to us, but that's a lifeline that may or may not run out. I just want to make sure that we prepare for both scenarios. Councilman Miranda.
Thank you very much. I appreciate all the comments that were said earlier, but let's go back to the 90s. We hired 100 police officers under the Greco administration. We got a grant for 3 years that the feds would pay for it, and the city council did approve that, and the city council and the mayor at that time did fund the money to fund them for the future. So let me clear that part of it, what was said earlier, out. The second part that you want to look at is what happened in 1996. In February or March of 96, that tax was put on the ballot, and it was rejected soundly. However, the same people that want to be something, that want to do something for themselves, brought it back up with another entity in it that cost a lot of money, and it passed by 1.5%, I think it was. So it's going to come up again, and maybe that's the play. Let's put two taxes up so it fails, so then we can reapply it, and then that entity comes back in and says, I'm going to save you all, because without me, you can't live. Well, that's the only entity that we give private money to. We don't give it to most big industries that come to the town, to the city that we live in. So these are the things that I'm looking at very carefully. I wore black for 6 months, and the suit's still hanging on the wall, and I might wear it again, because I'm not going to let that happen again without a fight. So it belongs to public taxpayers. That's why we have the problems that we have today in society, by giving it to individuals who don't need it. End of story. Thank you.
Anybody else before I go to another round? Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Hello, ma'am.
Being the neophyte here, I just have a couple of questions for you that I don't understand why solid waste continues to be an enterprise business when it loses millions of dollars. That's just not understandable to me, and especially considering that the needs of them even coming to us recently for some type of increase, I don't know if it will support it coming out of the red. And I know that that's a larger conversation for, the financial folks that have the skill sets to address that, but I just don't see it as an enterprise business. However, I do see the convention center as an enterprise business, and it is not listed as one. It is our major hub where events come into this city. Certainly, it makes a lot of money, but it's not presented to us where we can clearly see how much money the convention center brings to us. And I do feel like that should be included as an enterprise business. The other thing is it's on a small scale for me, but I know that there are folks within staff that are listening to this. Parks and Recreation is not an enterprise business. But is it expected to break even, the fees that we charge and things like that?
No, not at all.
Okay, so why do we charge for things? And this is maybe a question that you can come back and answer at a later time. For example, catering. The city collects a 10% fee from the caterers. Why do we do that if it's not an enterprise business? Why are we charging them for that? I recently went to a event at the River Center by one of our caterers, and it cost almost $7,000, $67 per person, which was ridiculous for what we received, and it was a city organization that was there. So it appears to be an enterprise business over at the Tampa River Center, because it's a lot of money that's being charged. We're charging a fee to the organization to have the event there. Then on top of that, we're charging another fee for them to use the caterer that they're forced to use. So all of that is something that I'm investigating myself. And from a financial standpoint, if Parks and Rec is not an enterprise business, why are certain entities of it treated like that?
Understood.
To the public that already pays for Parks and Rec?
No,
in their property.
would you mind if we circle back with a more extensive and researched, it's a good question. I would just rather provide you with a more well-researched answer.
Absolutely, because that is one of the number one areas that I'm going to constantly diving into, including the contracts of how these businesses are selected to do business with us when it comes to catering and certification, et cetera. Okay, so those are just some points that I wanted to make, but the convention center is one of them that needs to be addressed as well, because I do believe it's a profit-making entity. It gives the impression that it is, but solid waste clearly is not. It's over, the shortfall in this particular presentation is what, $20 million?
20 plus, yeah.
Yeah, so why, if it's an enterprise business, we're not doing a good job. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Clendenin.
Just circling back on a couple things, just as far as expectations, because it kind of clued me in with what Councilman Carlson said about council's prerogative during this budget season. So, I mean, to be more specific, I'm looking to kind of triple where we are on our road improvements for the city of Tampa, looking for like $45 million in the fiscal year 25 budget.
And I'm sorry, so 45?
Yeah, hopefully
Okay.
that's something that council will support when we get there, because we're so far behind and been so derelict in keeping our roads up to date. I think it's one of the most common themes I hear across the entire city is the condition of our road system. So we've got to do something about that. On Councilman Miranda, part of the issue is, you know, this like for the stadium, you know, the Bucks have an opportunity to renew. Okay, that big concrete structure on Del Mabry. The Bucks have an opportunity to renew their lease every 5 years, and we have to maintain it. So it's going to cost us one way or another. It's between us and the county and keeping it up to.
You in this term of the contract, you have a new contract coming, so it may not increase that.
But they have the opportunity to renew. You're right. Correct.
So
I understand.
you have to work that out.
Yeah, exactly. But be prepared. Secondly, on the tax, the sales tax on the agenda, we have one big issue that we have to continually talk about, and that is replacement of our police headquarters. And I think that's one of the things we need to be focused on too. Of when we generate that CIT money, that should be something that we are looking at, so that we avoid the burden from the general fund of having to take that big hit. It's something that's very clearly appropriate for a CIT of parlaying that building into a new structure somewhere else, and then we can have further discussion about what we do with the infrastructure that we have next door, which I hope to be able to keep that garage for the city, since we have all the city employees down here. It seemed to be appropriate. And I think that's kind of it. Again, roads, police, and
Second.
yeah, there we go.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. I look forward to our one-on-one briefings and regarding the budget.
As do I. Thank you, Council.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Vieira.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And really fast, if I may. And Mr. O'Hara, thank you always for your detailed presentation and your professionalism. When it comes to the funds that, and I was out for a little bit, if this was addressed, I apologize. Tallahassee's funds from the penny sales tax, what's up with that? Like, when can we expect those funds?
Are you the all for transportation?
Yeah.
The transportation fund? I don't know. I can circle back to you. You know, as you know, it's been held in kind of limbo
Yeah.
for quite some time, and I have heard and read and been told various scenarios. I don't have a firm fix on it. If you don't mind, I'll circle back with the firmest fix I can get.
Sure, and I appreciate that. I mean, the public always expects us to be fiscally responsible, fiscally restrained, but there are, you know, things that they really want us to invest in. And council members have talked about transportation or roads. I always say that in Hillsborough County, people are in such a crisis on transportation that 60% of the people said, please raise my taxes because our roads are so bad in 2018. In 2022, in a very anti-tax year, you almost had a penny sales tax passed, even though it was struck down in the circuit court before folks vote on it. So again, there is a real appetite out there for investing in transportation and being able to fund it. You know, public safety, talking about renewal of CIT, we'll be talking about fire stations after lunch. You know, a big focus here in the city of Tampa. I feel that we're, you know, falling behind in a lot of areas from years ago, especially downtown. I think Channel Side, we've been able to address things in North Tampa, and that's wonderful. And we got to focus on downtown and Channel Side. I think that's something that's very important. But then the other big thing is, again, how do we pay for these things, right? The public wants these things, but how do we pay for these things? And we always have to have a very honest discussion. That's why that was the whole purpose of the public safety master plan, which is to tell people, okay, this is what we need, this is how much it's gonna cost to get it, now how do we pay for it? If we only wanna pay for 2/3 of it, then fine, we'll abandon the other third. But there's mathematics that comes into play, and we have to be honest with the public on that. So, but again, thank you for your work, sir. Appreciate you.
Councilmember Carlson, then Clendenin.
Just some quick hits. Councilmember Clendenin mentioned $45 million for roads. As I recall, we need about $2 billion to fix the roads that are just the city roads. And $45 million is a lot more than the $4 million that was a couple years ago. But there was at least 12 years where there was an anticipation of all for transportation going through. And so the roads were artificially not paved because of that anticipation. And now there was also an argument that, well, roads are paid out of gas tax. Well, that's not enough to cover it anymore. And so we have no choice. We can't have roads in the state that they're in. And we have to do it in the right way. And I think Mobility is doing a good job someone said, by paving their own roads. I would not only support 45, I wish we would go up higher. And specifically talk about the roads we're doing too. The convention center, Councilmember Henderson mentioned the convention center. I don't care whether we put it in an enterprise fund or not, but we need to clearly show the public what the subsidy is, because I think we put in like $30 million just in this round of the CRA, and so we need to disclose what maybe on top of that it generates a surplus, but we need to make sure we understand what the total investment is. With parks, maybe there's a different way of looking at parks if it's not an enterprise fund. And so I think her point is a good one. Like, what's the model for these things? I think people have said in the public that if we're charging for summer programs, there should be subsidized programs or free programs. But for people who can afford to pay, they shouldn't pay the subsidized rate. They should pay a market rate. And so even if it's not an enterprise, we shouldn't automatically subsidize everything. The program should pay for themselves. The last thing is that I've had many constituents call and ask the administration why such and such isn't paid for. Why haven't you landscaped this? Why haven't you paid for the art programs, whatever? And the answer from the administration is, well, City Council didn't approve our tax increase. And I know for sure that most of the things that the community is complaining about were not in the budget. They were not things that we cut. And so I would just ask this year, as we go to cut things, I would like for the administration, if they want to ask us to make the choices like Councilmember Vieira was saying, have them listed so that we can vote. If we're gonna get criticized for voting against something and cutting something out of the budget, I want to make sure that it's very clear that that's what we did. We did not vote for additional police officers. We did not vote for to support the police. We did not vote for arts programs. So we need to make sure that if there's something that we take out of the budget, the one thing we can, at least I think Clendenin and I can take blame for, is that we voted and supported, and I think others, to take out that signage program in downtown. Now that some people in the administration are saying, well, that's the cause now of all the congestion in downtown, which I don't believe either. But we did vote, we did take that out. And so if we actually take something out, we should get blamed for it. But if we didn't, we shouldn't. So let's be explicit about what are the choices we need to make, and what is it we're approving and what are we taking out. Thank you.
Councilmember Clendenin.
Yeah, I didn't thank you, one, for moving the schedule up and making it easier for council to make these decisions. I mean, $2 billion budget.
Well, you're welcome.
I appreciate the little extra buffer for us to be able to do that, and obviously we've got our new budget analysis reporting to City Council now. It's going to help us navigate this process. But I want to revisit the all for transportation funds. It's being held hostage in Tallahassee by politicians in Tallahassee that don't have the interest of Hillsborough County or the city of Tampa in mind. So much of that money is now being spent day by day on lawyers instead of going to our roads and transportation infrastructure in Hillsborough County. And the people in Tallahassee, including the governor, should be ashamed of themselves for holding that money hostage. They need to release it to the citizens back, the people that paid for it, and let it be used for the purpose that it was meant for the city, for the people that live here in Hillsborough County and the city of Tampa. And if anybody that is listening to this, hopefully there's a few people that are listening, I urge them to contact their representatives to call them and express that desire to send
our money back to us, period.
Yes?
Thank you, sir.
Well, I have to agree with my esteemed colleague, Councilman Clendenin. It's their money because they have it in their bank account, but it does not belong to them. Just like going and rob a bank. So bank robbers go to jail. Maybe they ought to go to jail. Thank you.
And I'll end it with this. You know, it's interesting. We pull up our brick streets, we pull up our streetcar system, and now we're talking about $2 billion in road repaving. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars possibly in extending the streetcar that we had to essentially rebuild. So what I'm saying is progress is dangerous and expensive. And in this case, here we are. It comes full circle. We were doing something right 100 years ago when we had better roads, when we had public transportation that worked, and here we are. Thank you very much. Just wanted to, make my random unnecessary comment.
Thank
you
you,
very
sir.
much.
Thank
Let's do
you,
the
counsel.
consent agenda, and then we're going to break for lunch. Councilmember Vieira, you have public safety.
Yes, move the aforementioned items.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Vieira to move items 6 through 13, with a second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much.
Yes, Chair, for Parks, Recreation, and Culture Committee, I move items 14 through 18.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Henderson with a second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Carlson, you got to do Public Works.
Yes, Councilmember Carlson is the vice chair for 19 through
39.
39, with the exception of
29.
So moved.
We have a motion from
Second.
Councilmember Carlson, second from Councilmember Henderson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Councilmember Miranda, you are the
Thank
finance
you, Chair.
committee.
Move items 40 to 47.
Motion from Councilmember
Second.
Miranda, second from Councilmember Henderson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Councilmember Carlson, you're the chair of Building, Zoning, and Preservation.
Move 48 through 56.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Carlson, second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilmember Clendenin, 57
I move
through
items
64.
57 through 64.
We have a motion from Councilmember Clendenin. We have a second from Councilmember Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And Councilmember Miranda, would you
Move
mind
item
setting?
66 for a public hearing. That's
No,
found-
65 through 69.
60, yeah, through 69 for public hearings at 5:01, well, they're different ones, at
Yeah, they're different
5:01
times. You don't have to move them?
PM on July the 8th, June the 27th.
You
They're
can
all
mo-
different times.
You can move them as one
Okay,
body.
move
We have a
them all
motion
at
from
once.
Councilmember Miranda to set
Second.
those hearings, second from Councilmember Henderson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are in recess until 1:30. We might be 1:40, so bear with me. This is for lunch.
I know.
Is it too
No.
short?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
You going to the police then?
Well, if it's 1:40, don't say 1:30.